Chapter 42:68. In the sky, thunder rumbled. On the ground, sand and rocks flew. Waves of exclamations came from the crowd. Many people were already standing hundreds of meters away to watch at this time. Because they were too close, they were afraid that they would be swept in by this terrifying sword move. Devil's sword howls heaven and earth. I didn't expect that senior brother Yu Qiong would actually use this move. This time, that Ling Xiao is going to die completely. I don't believe that Ling Xiao can still create a miracle. Miracle my ass. When this move is used, even a martial artist at the middle stage of the extreme core realm cultivation will be afraid, let alone a mere Ling Xiao. The people who said this were naturally all members of the Yu family. They already couldn't care much at this time. Anyway, they had agreed to a life and death duel. Even if Ling Xiao was killed, he deserved it. He couldn't blame others. Ling Xiao is dead. Will the Golden City come to find trouble? After all, this kid Ling Xiao's identity is not ordinary. What are you afraid of? This is a life and death duel. They agreed before. Even if the Golden City is powerful, they can't be unreasonable. That's right. It's already good that I didn't find trouble with the Golden City. How much trouble did this kid cause in our Yu family? Could it be that our heavenly fiend ghost territory is much weaker than that golden heavenly region? That's right, that's right. If he's killed, then so be it. His two subordinates are just core-shattering realm martial artists, right? There's no need for Lord Demon King to make a move. The few patriarchs can handle it. At this time, whether it was the younger generation or the upper echelons of the Yu family, most of them were very excited. So much so that they forgot the fact that the Golden Heavenly Region was much stronger than the Heavenly Fiend Ghost Territory. They also forgot that the Yu family couldn't represent the Fendu Devil Kingdom, let alone the Heavenly Fiend Ghost Territory. But the Golden City could represent the Golden Heavenly Region. All of them were so happy that they forgot their surnames and names. Roar! Suddenly, at this time, Ling Xiao actually released a beast-like roar from his mouth. The phantom of the heavenly fiend, Black Tortoise, actually completely condensed into a physical body. The heavenly fiend heart, heavenly fiend bone, heavenly fiend thunder jade, Black Tortoise divine body, and the ancient golden dragon bloodline finally achieved the initial fusion. Under the immense pressure from the outside world, they chose to cooperate. Ling Xiao's aura instantly broke through the shackles of the black true essence. Oh no, Yu Kilian was the first to notice something was wrong. This was because the rate at which Ling Xiao's strength was rising had slowed down. This meant that the breakthrough was over. Great. Blue Lotus swordswoman also nodded. In the face of great danger, Ling Xiao had managed to overcome many difficulties. He had finally achieved a rare breakthrough. Ninth Order Emperor Realm, Heavenly Devil Black Martial Body. Perfect Earth Core Realm. It feels so good. Ling Xiao could feel that Yu Qiong was no longer that scary in front of him. He even put away the sword in his hand. Right now, it was more suitable for him to use another move. So what if you broke through? You still have to die. Although he was surprised by how fast Ling Xiao's breakthrough was, he was still shocked. However, Yu Qiong still did not believe that she would lose. The demonic sword howled in the heavens and earth. This was his most powerful attack, and its might was infinitely close to that of a mid-9th level martial emperor realm martial skill. He didn't believe that he couldn't kill Ling Xiao like this. Buzz! In the next moment, a terrifying sound rang out. Yu Qiong looked at the sky in horror. A huge handprint fell down. This handprint produced a terrifying pressure that slowed him down to a crawl. It even made him feel like he couldn't move at all. It was as if his body was bound by God. It was so heavy that he couldn't move. At this moment, Yu Qiong felt like an ant on the ground. And this hand came from a terrifying existence that was one level higher than humans. Heaven-covering giant handprint. The heaven-covering giant handprint had once again become Ling Xiao's strongest martial skill. It was even more powerful than the first 9 moves of the 23 dragon subduing swords. It was even more terrifying than the 3rd level of the 12 divine beasts technique. If Yu Qiong's attack was only infinitely close to the mid-9th order Emperor realm, then Ling Xiao's palm was the true mid-9th order Emperor realm. The gap between them could be imagined. Damn it! Yu Qiong didn't dare to risk his life against Ling Xiao. He could only choose to resist the heaven-covering giant handprint. What's more, he was blocked by the heaven-covering giant handprint at this moment, and he couldn't attack Ling Xiao in time. Boom! The terrifying handprint finally fell. Yu Qiong let out a shrill scream. His whole body was flattened. No! The experts of the Yu family cried out in alarm. Yu Qiren, Yu Dingtian, Yu Wentian, and Yu Lianhua rushed over one after another. They tried to stop this tragedy. They wanted to stop Ling Xiao from killing Yu Qiong, but they were still a step too late. Just as they hesitated, Yu Qiong had already been flattened. Spare his life, and the Yu family will definitely thank you. Yu Qiren could feel that Yu Qiong was still alive. At least his inner core hadn't completely shattered. After all, he was a powerhouse of the extreme realm of core. His tenacious vitality was really amazing. Ling Xiao didn't show mercy, but he just couldn't kill him. He sighed helplessly. At this moment, there was no way to kill him. There were 4 people on the other side, all of whom were powerhouses of the shattered core realm. Even if Ancestor Crimson Flame and Green Lotus Swordswoman took action, there was nothing they could do. The Fire Emperor could make a move, but the Fire Emperor wouldn't do that. The Fire Emperor would only protect him, but he wouldn't listen to his orders. He wouldn't become enemies with the Yu family just to kill Yu Qiong. After this thought flashed through his mind, Ling Xiao decided to do him a favor at no extra cost. Of course, this favor wasn't free. Are you all trying to interfere with our duel? Ling Xiao raised his head and looked at Yu Qiren. He's already lost, Yu Qiren said helplessly. Although he didn't want to admit it, this was the truth. If Ling Xiao's attack wasn't strong enough, Yu Qiong would already be a corpse. Well, to be precise, a corpse with a shattered inner core. Well, since you all care so much about this trash, I won't kill him. How about this? Give me a set of medicinal herbs for the shattered core divine water, and we'll call it even. Ling Xiao wanted to squeeze out the last bit of value from Yu Qiong. He didn't want too much. Otherwise, the Yu family might really abandon Yu Qiong. At that time, it wouldn't be good for him. It was better to exchange for something useful. Anyway, since he was able to defeat Yu Qiong today, it was impossible for him to lose to Yu Qiong again in the future. Yu Qiong, this trash, was no longer a threat to him. Give him the medicinal herbs. Yu Qiren gritted his teeth. A set of medicinal herbs for the shattered core divine water in exchange for Yu Qiong's life. This was a good deal. Hee, thank you. Ling Xiao smiled. Although his body was covered in scars, his smile was very bright. The people of the Yu family didn't say a word. Their faces were gloomy to the extreme. Lost, the dignified Yu Qiong of the extreme pill realm actually lost to Ling Xiao. Not only did he lose, but he also had to rely on a set of medicinal herbs for the shattered core divine water in exchange for his life. This was really a big joke. Ha, young master, well done. Old Ancestor Scarlet Flame laughed unscrupulously. Green Lotus, Sword Girl, also clapped her hands. This battle was not easy to win. If Ling Xiao's was a little lax, a little weak, then the one who lost at this time would be Ling Xiao. And it would be even worse than Yu Qiong's. Please remember the domain name of this book. Let's all read it on mobile. Chapter 4269. Everyone, let's disperse. In fact, you don't have to ridicule the Yu family. Originally, to me, these continuous challenges were just to help me improve. Now that my strength has increased, I have to thank the Yu family. With that, Ling Xiao cupped his hands and returned to his residence with a smile. His words didn't sound sarcastic, but thinking about it carefully, it didn't sound right. It felt like the Yu family had become a stepping stone for him to improve his strength. This was simply a humiliation. The cultivators of the Yu family were all filled with righteous indignation. But what could they do now? The younger generation couldn't beat Ling Xiao, and the higher-ups wouldn't easily make a move. Aggrieved, I'm going to kill this kid. Yu Wentian's face was red with anger. Uncle, don't be impulsive. Yu Qiren shook his head. Don't forget the death of the Yang family head. This kid definitely doesn't only have forefathers Scarlet Flame and Green Lotus, swordswoman behind him. They're even stronger existences. So, try not to provoke him in the future. Do as the two Demon Kings say. We can't afford to provoke him. But how are we going to take revenge? Yu Feng, Yu Luan, and now even Yu Qiong's body has been crippled. Yu Wentian couldn't calm down. Revenge? Every battle is a fair duel. If our people lose, we have to take revenge. Are you trying to tell others that our Yu family can't afford to lose? Don't you think we've lost enough face? Yu Qiren's expression and tone changed. I hope that after this setback, Yu Qiong, Yu Feng, and Yu Luan can grow. Don't be as arrogant as before. Otherwise, you'll never amount to anything. Although Yu Wentian was Yu Qiren's uncle, he wasn't as strong as Yu Qiren. After being reprimanded, he could only lower his head. Moreover, Yu Qiren's words made sense. Ling Xiao didn't use any despicable means to win, but one fair and square. Moreover, not killing Yu Feng, Yu Luan, and Yu Qiong was already giving the Yu family a lot of face. What else did they want? To start a war between the Yu family and the City of Gold? In that case, the Yu family's enemies would be happy. They probably couldn't wait to see the Yu family's misfortune. Sigh. Yu Wentian sighed helplessly. Let's go. Don't forget that we have more important things to do. This Ling Xiao was just a passerby of the heavenly devil, ghost territory. Sooner or later he would leave. Just bear with it for a while. Yu Qiren said, then turned and left. Disperse. When the surrounding crowd saw that there was no more drama to watch, they all left one after another. However, when they left, the discussion was still very lively. The fact that Ling Xiao was invincible amongst all warriors below the heavenly core realm was already a frightening fact. Now, even Yu Qiong, who was at the early stage of the extreme stage of core, had been defeated. This was too awesome. It was so awesome that no one could describe it with words. At this moment, several people had gathered at Ling Xiao's residence. Other than ancestor Scarlet Flame, Green Lotus Swordswoman, and Ling Xiao, there was also Ghost Sword and Fire King. Good lad, that last sentence was so domineering. In this old man's opinion, the people of the Yu family are about to vomit blood because of you. After being busy for so long, not only did I fail to suppress your arrogance, I even became your training partner, forcing you to break through. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't feel good about it. Fire King burst into laughter. That said, the final situation was truly thrilling. Ghost Sword frowned and said, If you can't break through, what are you going to do? Don't worry. Even if I can't break through, I still have other ways. I'm not someone who puts all my eggs in one basket. If I put all my eggs in one basket, I might not get anything in the end. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Actually, he still had a lot of trump cards, but that Yu Qiong wasn't strong enough to force him to use them. That's true. When we were in the Fengdu Devil Forest, who would have thought that you would be able to obtain the demonic epiphyllum? Most of the people looked down on you. Ghost Sword sighed and said, Not only in the Fengdu Devil Forest, actually from the Heavenly Dragon Continent to the Black Tortoise Continent, from before to after reincarnation, I have been slighted more than I can count. Countless people have said that I, Ling Xiao, am a piece of trash, that I, Ling Xiao, can't do certain things. But I, on the other hand, gave each of them a resounding slap in the face. I didn't get to where I am today by luck or gambling. I got here step by step. Well said. As a martial artist, you can't be swayed by other people's opinions. That kind of person is the most useless. Fire King nodded and said, But what do you plan to do next? Your sister should have more or less regained control of her body, right? Yes, but the demon sovereign's power isn't that easy to digest. It would take her at least half a month to fully digest all the energy that the demon lord had stored in her body. At that time, she would truly be an expert at the peak of the extreme stage of pill. She might even directly step into the core fragmentation realm. Ling Xiao didn't avoid Ghost Sword and Fire King talking about this. Fire King only cared about the fresh blood in the demonic heart. As for how Ling Xiao would deal with the Yu family, he didn't care. Ghost Sword was the Demon Emperor's disciple. He wouldn't participate in the Fengdu Kingdom's contest for the Demon Sovereign, but he wanted to help Ling Xiao and repay Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao hadn't just saved his sister, but also helped him reach the core fragmentation realm. This favor wasn't any less than his master's. Moreover, he wasn't the kind of person who liked to owe favors, so he naturally wouldn't betray Ling Xiao. He would even help. Half a month? The contest for the Demon Sovereign's successor is in half a month. All martial artists under the age of 100 are qualified to participate. It doesn't matter if they're from the Fengdu Kingdom or even the Demon Realm, Ghost Sword said. Once the Yu family discovers that your sister's situation is different from what they expected, they'll definitely have you Killian kill her. You Killian might become the Demon Sovereign's successor. Don't worry, I won't let him succeed. Ling Xiao said coldly. The successor can be Qi Niming, Qi Yaoguang, Black Pearl, or even my sister Jiao Jiao. It can't be you Killian. He naturally had his reasons for considering this. The Celestial Empire's development required powerful martial artists. If Ling Jiaojiao became the demon sovereign of the Fengdu Kingdom, it would be extremely beneficial to the Empire's expansion. Thus, whether it was for Ling Jiaojiao or for Ling Xiao himself, this matter had to be done. If you really want to do this, I'll help. Ghost Sword said, not just me, but Qi Niming, Qi Yaoguang, and Black Pearl have also said it. As long as it's against the Yu family, they're willing to help. It's just that it's not convenient for them to show their faces right now. You need to think carefully. The Yu family is extremely powerful. They also have the help of the Greenvine sect, the Red Robe sect, the Yang family, and the Blood Spirit sect. Who knows, if we act this time, it might be a narrow escape. Ling Xiao said, End of chapter. Chapter 4270. We know the dangers here better than you do. Ghost Sword smiled. I will also help when the time comes, but only if the other party sends out divine physique echelon powerhouses. The Fire Emperor said, Thank you, Senior Fire Emperor. Actually, you don't have to do this. Cut the crap. I don't need you to teach me what to do. You are a genius of Golden City. If something happens to you, I will be very aggrieved. The Fire Emperor waved his hand. Needless to say, we will. Patriarch Scarlet Flame and Green Lotus, Swordswoman laughed. Thank you, everyone. Ling Xiao was not a pretentious person. Since others wanted to help, he would definitely not refuse. Where is the selection of the Demon Venerate's successor held? He suddenly asked. You've only been to that place not long ago. Ghost Sword smiled. Fengdu Demonic Forest? Yes, it's the peak of Thunder Mountain in Fengdu Demonic Forest. Ghost Sword nodded. Because there is a teleportation array leading to Fengdu City. Martial artists from all over the Fengdu Demonic Kingdom and even the Sky Demon Ghost Realm will arrive at Fengdu City, one after another. This is so that they can teleport there directly. Of course, martial artists who are closer to Fengdu Demonic Forest will rush there directly. I see. Then we don't have to stay here any longer. I plan to go to Fengdu Demonic Forest now. Ling Xiao thought about it. No matter how vigilant he was, he would still be monitored if he stayed in the Yu family. It was better to go to Thunder Mountain to cultivate and wait for the Demon Venerate's successor selection in half a month. At that time, Ling Jiaojiao would definitely come. As for Ling Jiaojiao's safety, there was no need to consider it. The Demon Venerate's soul was basically refined, and everything of the Demon Venerate was divided between Yuan Venerate and Ling Jiaojiao. Yuan Venerate only received soul energy. Ling Jiaojiao received a large amount of the demon Venerate's experience, cultivation, and even memories. These were all stored in a place in her soul realm like documents. She could use them at any time. Therefore, if she wanted to imitate the demon Venerate, she would definitely be able to do it perfectly. All right, in that case, let's split up to avoid being targeted. Ghost Sword thought about it. All right, we'll do as you say. Ling Xiao nodded. He was prepared to leave first with Forefather Crimson Flame and Green Lotus Swordswoman. Let the Yu family rest assured. After the discussion, he did not stay any longer. After all, there was still half a month left. Ling Xiao planned to cultivate properly. He wanted to start cultivating the 4th layer of the 12 Divine Beast technique. Now that his cultivation and physical body had both improved, the conditions were right. When Ling Xiao left the Yu residence, everyone in the Yu family came out to see him off. It was as if he had just sent away a plague god. At this point, no one had thought that this kid called Ling Xiao would become a nightmare for the Yu family to rule over the Fengdu Devil Kingdom. Using the teleportation array was indeed fast. Ling Xiao arrived at Fengdu Devil Forest in a few days. Then, he stepped onto the peak of the Thunder Mountain. The Western Puppet City had already disappeared. It was probably taken away by the Devil Emperor. However, an even more majestic city was located there. Its name was Demon Sovereign City. This Demon Supremacy City was the residence of the Demon Supremacy of the Fengdu Demon Kingdom. It was not a fixed city, but a treasure. It could be big or small, and it could move. At this moment, the gate of the Demon Supremacy City was tightly shut. According to the guards of the Demon Supremacy City, the gate would only open in half a month, so they couldn't go in now. Ling Xiao and the other two could only cultivate and live outside. Because they felt the strength of the guards here, they did not rashly make a move. They directly found a cave at the peak of the Thunder Mountain and stayed there. He had stayed there for half a month. In this half a month, Ling Xiao's cultivation had completely consolidated. His physical body had also become more solid. Although he had not encountered any major trouble, he fought with Ancestor Scarlet Flame and Green Lotus Swordswoman every day. This kind of high-intensity battle was also very beneficial. Of course, the best thing was that he had already cultivated the 4th layer of the 12 Divine Beasts technique. This time, he cultivated the Radiant Holy Light Tiger. The Radiant Holy Light Tiger represented speed and holiness. Together with the Blood Diamond Rat, 9 Heavens Frost Dragon, and Flying Flaming Lion, it could greatly increase his combat strength. In addition, he had finally cultivated the first 9 moves of the 23 Dragon, subduing swords to the perfection realm. Every day he would fight tirelessly. Using the same moves, it was impossible not to improve. Thus, he began to cultivate the last 14 moves. Together with the first 9 moves, the changes were indeed more abundant. The power was also stronger. After all, if he only cultivated the first 9 moves, it would only be 9 consecutive strikes. But if he cultivated to the 23 swords, it would be 23 consecutive strikes. The power of this attack was completely different from the previous one. His crazy cultivation method was probably impossible for anyone to imitate. In addition, no one had been able to possess his tyrant martial spirit since ancient times. Even if a human king obtained it, it was only the most primitive mountain river martial spirit. Ling Xiao had evolved the mountain river martial spirit into the tyrant martial spirit according to his own characteristics. Not only did he have all the characteristics of the mountain river martial spirit, but he also obtained new characteristics. In this point, others could not compare. When Ling Xiao broke out of the cave, there was already a sea of people outside the demon Venerable City. Tomorrow was the selection of the successor of the demon Venerable, and today, basically everyone who should come had arrived. The most ostentatious was, of course, still the Yu family. This time, the Yu family was led by Yu Wentian. They were truly unbridled. No one dared to provoke them. Originally, The demon Venerable city was the residence of the demon Venerable. It would only appear when the successor of the demon Venerable began. But at this time, this city seemed to be occupied by the Yu family. Their people were everywhere. Of course, there were powerful guards in the demon Venerable city. The Yu family did not dare to go too far. They dared to occupy other places, but they did not dare to make a move on the demon Venerable palace. The guards inside were of the Demon King level. Even if everyone in the Yu family went up, they would probably not be able to gain the slightest advantage. But even so, when the cultivators by the side saw the Yu family, they also revealed expressions of reverence. They were afraid of offending them. They believed that even if the Yu family killed them, those guards would not care. This was the difference in strength. Ling Xiao used the ability of the Yin-Yang Demon King to change his appearance and sneak into the demon Venerable city. As for Green Lotus Swordswoman and Ancestor Scarlet Flame, they stayed in the Dongshen Emperor Ring. The reason why Ling Xiao was not willing to reveal his identity now was naturally because he did not want the Yu family to notice. Otherwise, it would be troublesome to do anything. I wonder how Sister Jiao Jiao is. Ling Xiao walked in the demon Venerable city. Compared to ordinary cities, this place was actually not much different. It was just that the construction materials were clearly better. He was not interested in visiting. Instead, he was very concerned about Ling Jiao Jiao's matter. Thus, he lifted his foot and walked into a tavern. Taverns and tea houses had always been good places to investigate. As soon as he entered, he heard people talking about the Yu family. End of this chapter. Chapter 4271. TSK Tisk, it's been a few hundred years. The Demon Sovereign successor selection is finally about to begin. I didn't expect to have such an opportunity in my lifetime. It's rare. Hey, stop showing off. Who doesn't know that we're just here to accompany the Crown Prince and watch the show? The Demon Sovereign successor will definitely be the Yu family. Yes, I think so too. The Yu family is very powerful now. They destroyed the Qi family and the Blackfire sect. The other three sects and the Yang family have all submitted to them. The Yu family is in the limelight right now. However, I heard that some time ago there was a guy called Ling Xiao who messed with the Yu family. With his late-stage earth core cultivation, he crippled Yu Qiong, who was in the early stage of the core realm. It took half a month for Yu Qiong to recover her physical body. I heard about it too, although the Yu family has been trying to cover up the news. Who can cover up such a thing? I wonder if that Ling Xiao guy will come this time. If he does, there will be a good show to watch. It's useless even if he comes. The Demon Sovereign successor is selected from cultivators under 100 years old. The Yu family's Yu Jiao Jiao and Yu Qiren are already 9th stage core fragmentation realm experts. They already have 1 foot in the divine physique echelon. No matter how strong Ling Xiao is, he can't win. That's true. The Yu family has 2 9th stage core fragmentation realm experts under 100 years old. The other families and sects don't have much hope. It's just a matter of whether people from other devil nations or realms can come. But who is Yu Jiao Jiao? I know Yu Qiren. He's the eldest son of the Yu family's patriarch. What's Yu Jiao Jiao's background? You don't know, right? Yu Jiao Jiao is the wife Yu Xiangtian found for his son. The girl's surname was Ling, but she changed it to show the Yu family's prestige. I see. Ling Zhao's expression didn't look too good. He could tell that Ling Jiao Jiao was fine. However, these people had changed Ling Jiao Jiao's surname to Yu, and even got involved with Yu Killian. This really made him very unhappy. How could this scum be worthy of his sister Jiao Jiao? He did not expect his future brother-in-law to be powerful, but his character must be good. This was the most basic thing. The Demon Sovereign City had a huge martial arts practice field, which was protected by a powerful array. This was the venue for the Demon Venerable's successor selection. Ling Xiao arrived at this place after leaving the restaurant. At this time, the Yu family had already arranged their seats. The Devil Emperor would usually send a disciple to supervise the selection of the Devil Venerable's successor. There was no need for a referee. The demon sovereign city had specialized puppet referees. Their judgments were more accurate than humans, and they would not favor one side over another. The seating arrangement was very interesting. The actions of the upper echelons of the Yu family had actually led them to the judges' seats. It showed how arrogant these people were. Ghost Sword, on the other hand, was put aside as a supervisor. Fortunately, he didn't throw it into a corner. At least everyone could see it. As for the puppet judges, they were not given seats at all. In the words of the Yu family, they were just puppets. What did they need seats for? In any case, the puppets wouldn't raise any objections. If you treated them well, they wouldn't help you. There were two very eye-catching seats in the most conspicuous places. The seats were made of crystal. This was clearly the work of the Yu family's two demon kings. Below the two demon kings were the sect masters of the Green Vine sect, the Red Robe sect, and the Blood Spirit sect, as well as Yu Qiren, Yu Wentian, Yu Dingtian, and Yu Lianhua. It was as if the demon sovereign's successor selection had been specially prepared for the Yu family. It hadn't even started yet, but they were already prepared to announce that the next demon sovereign belonged to them. Ling Xiao watched this coldly from the crowd, although he was not satisfied with this situation. Although he wasn't happy with the Yu family's current strength, he had to admit that no one could replace them. What Ling Xiao needed to do now was to make Ling Jiaojiao take the position of demon sovereign successor. If everything went smoothly, he wouldn't have to do anything. But if the Yu family sensed something strange about Ling Jiaojiao, he would definitely protect her to the death. Hadn't he waited half a month for this moment? After leaving the training grounds, Ling Xiao went straight to a restaurant. The next day, he went to the training grounds again. At this time, all the cultivators had arrived. The Yu family's experts were already sitting in the seats that had been arranged. Yu Wentian had also arrived, but the other demon king, Yu Patian, was nowhere to be seen. Ling Jiaojiao and Yu Qiren sat side by side. Their expressions were calm, without the slightest hint of abnormality. Ling Xiao breathed a sigh of relief, not daring to look too much. He was afraid that Ling Jiaojiao would make a mistake and cause all their previous efforts to be wasted. He didn't want to fight if he could. After all, their strength was still somewhat weak. If they really fought with the Yu family, it was hard to guarantee that no one would die. If Ling Jiaojiao could smoothly take the position of demon sovereign successor, that would naturally be the best result. The competition would begin in 2 hours. At this time, there were still people arriving at Demon Sovereign City. The number of participants was also quite large. The total number exceeded 10,000, because the battle for the Demon Sovereign successor was allowed to kill the opponent. This caused many cultivators who were not confident in their own strength to not dare to participate. Those who came to participate were either acting with the Yu family. They couldn't let the Yu family's own people fight with their own people and finally take the position of demon sovereign. That would be too fake. There were also some who were true experts. They had been waiting for this day for a long time. Even if they knew that they couldn't take the position of demon sovereign successor, they still wanted to let the demon emperor see their strength. Perhaps they could become the demon emperor's disciple. Every time the demon sovereign successor battle was held, the demon emperor would basically watch the battle. Although he wasn't present, the demon emperor's divine sense was extremely powerful. Naturally, he could easily know what was happening here. In any case, in the past demon sovereign successor selection, there would always be 2 or 3 people who would be chosen to become the demon emperor's preparatory disciple. Even if they were preparatory disciples, their status was quite high. Therefore, those who came today might not necessarily be fighting for the position of demon sovereign successor. Some came for the position of demon emperor's disciple. Somewhere in Fengdu Demon Forest, in a pitch-black underground, a black shadow looked outside coldly. Hateful demonic cultivators. Hateful Yu family's cultivators. Just you wait. This time, I, the human devil king, will risk my cultivation to take the position of demon sovereign successor. The demon emperor said that even if it's me, he can also take me as his disciple. In that case, let me use your identity to slowly torture you. The human devil king had suffered heavy injuries before. He could no longer make enemies through normal means. Therefore, he chose to lower his cultivation and forcefully seize the body of a Fengdu demon kingdom's cultivator. This person was Yu Zhangzong. Yu Zhangzong was attacked by poisonous bees in Fengdu Demon Forest and turned into a zombie. End of this chapter. Chapter 4272. Possessing Yu Zhangzong, a zombie without consciousness, was much easier than possessing a person with consciousness. Moreover, Yu Zhangzong was a member of the Yu family. It was very suitable for the human demon king to choose him. The reason why he had to lower his cultivation was to use a secret technique that could change his soul's age to below 100 years old. However, his cultivation close to the demon emperor would drop to Yu Xiangtian's level. He was truly unwilling to accept this. However, for his own plan, he had to endure it. This time he could only succeed. Otherwise, he would suffer a great loss. At the same time, at a certain volcano in Fengdu Demon Forest, although the volcano wasn't erupting, there was lava constantly flowing. There was actually a figure above the lava. Hee, I'm 99 years old this year. I'll go play with the humans. I'll let them know how strong our fire spirit race is. Fire spirit could barely be considered a demon race. However, they weren't liked by the savage beast region warriors. It was really awkward. Fire spirit had been cultivating in Fengdu Devil Forest for 99 years and had enough confidence. He wanted the fire spirit race to be famous in Fengdu Demon Kingdom and even the Sky Demon Ghost region, at a certain mountain peak in Fengdu Demon Forest. This mountain was as sharp as a sword. A person holding a long sword looked in the direction of the demon's sovereign city. I, Jian Wuqing, have waited for half a month for this day. It's time for me to have a place in Fengdu Demon Kingdom. You family, just you wait. You destroyed my sword race. Although it's been 1,000 years, how can my sword race forget this grudge? Although I'm still young, I'm still not a demon king's opponent. However, after I become the demon emperor's disciple, I'll naturally make rapid progress. Just wait. My amorous sword art will let you understand what a true genius is like. Amorous swordsman, merciless sword. If someone went to merciless demon kingdom, they would know how powerful this person was. He was the direct disciple of the demon sovereign of merciless demon kingdom. Die. In the dense forest of Fengdu Demon Forest, one man, one saber, killed a demon beast in the extreme realm of Kor. Although I, Dao Shuelan, don't have the confidence to become the demon sovereign successor. However, I have to give it a try. Unlike those cowards who are so scared that they don't dare to do anything when they hear that someone else is at the Kor fragmentation realm, Dao Shuelan was just a wandering martial artist. He didn't belong to any sect. However, there were many fortuitous encounters. Now that he had reached the peak of the extreme Kor realm, he knew he couldn't compete with Ling Jiao and Yu Qiren for this position. But he still had to give it a try. Otherwise, how boring would life be? Otherwise, who would know of his existence? In the crowd, a person cupped his fists and looked coldly at Yu Qiren. Today, he only had one opponent, and that was Yu Qilian. His name was Xingyun. His girlfriend was killed by Yu Qilian a few decades ago. Perhaps even Yu Qiren didn't know that he had killed her, because to Yu Qilian, it was just a matter of convenience. But Nebula would never forget. After years of crazy cultivation, he had finally reached the 10th level of the blood spirit demonic art. Although his cultivation base wasn't as high as Yu Qilian's, his fighting prowess was on par with Yu Qilian's. He couldn't wait. Yu Qiren usually stayed with the Yu family. This was a rare opportunity. He had to take revenge for his girlfriend and for his lost youth. 2 hours later, those who should have come were all here. Those who shouldn't have come were all here. The puppet judge announced the rules of the selection. although it was very mechanical. But it was clear. The rules were simple. No talismans, formations, treasures, or the like were allowed. The weapons provided by Demon Sovereign City were all immortal grade, heavenly emperor artifacts of the same level. Therefore, no one would have an advantage in terms of weapons. More than 1,000 people had signed up. These people would be divided into 12 groups for the elimination round. The competition would be based on points. Not everyone would be able to meet the same fate. There would be a total of 10 elimination rounds. In other words, each person would only fight 10 rounds, and their opponents would be random. Only 12 people in each group could advance. After that, the 12 groups would be merged into 6 groups and continue to be eliminated. 12 people in each group would advance. Only these 72 people would be qualified to participate in the final ranking battle. It was said that as long as one entered the ranking battle, they would be rewarded. The higher one's ranking, the better the reward. It was quite good. Of course, this rule sounded simple, but when it came to the battle, it was definitely not so easy. There were 10 rounds in the elimination round alone, and it had to end in one day. This had to consider the distribution of stamina, vital essence, and so on. If you didn't know this and had poor mental fortitude, then you would be in trouble. After all, for most people, winning all 20 rounds of the elimination round, that was almost impossible. All right, the rules have been announced. When you signed up, you have already received your respective number plates. Your groups are on them. Hearing this, Ling Xiao lowered his head and looked at the number plate in his hand. The 4th group. He smiled slightly. No matter which group it was, he was just playing around. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he wouldn't use the power of the demonic Sirius. However, he had already observed the martial artists around him. The situation might be much more complicated than he had imagined. It wasn't that Yu Qiren and Ling Jiaojiao were the strongest, especially a familiar face, Yu Zhangzong. Not only was this guy alive and well, but his aura was even more terrifying than Yu Qiren and Ling Jiaojiao. This caused him to frown. This time, the Demon Sovereign's successor selection would be more difficult than he had imagined. At this moment, Ling Xiao had already revealed his identity. There was no need to hide it. In any case, in the eyes of the Yu clan, with his cultivation, there was no way he could pose any threat to Yu Qiren or Ling Jiaojiao. Haha, that kid signed up too. Does he already know that his sister has been possessed? Is that why he wants revenge? When Yu Wentian saw Ling Xiao, he sneered in disdain. He's overestimating himself. Does he think he can win? It just so happened that Yu Qiong was also in the 4th group. This time, Yu Qiong's body was forged from a divine, heavenly emperor artifact. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, couldn't use his own weapon. This was absolutely advantageous for Yu Qiong. If Yu Qiong can't win, then she'll really be crippled. Yu Qiren sneered. He didn't take Ling Xiao seriously at all. Ling Jiaojiao's eyes flashed with imperceptible surprise. However, he covered it up in an instant. She knew that she couldn't expose herself. Otherwise, he would be in big trouble. Once the Yu family found out that she was faking it, they would definitely not let her off. She could not let Ling Xiao take the risk. So now, the best way was to follow Ling Xiao's advice and continue pretending until he obtained the position of the Demon Lord successor. Xiao Shua Xiao Shuem. 3 cubed carat x to the power of O. M. Worth collecting unadvertised novel. Chapter 4273. Qi Niming, Qi Yaoguang, and Heizhu weren't in the same group as Ling Xiao. Therefore, they didn't have to compete with each other. In fact, all 3 of them knew that their identities would be exposed if they participated in this competition. But they didn't care. They just wanted to tell the Yu family that they weren't all dead yet. They couldn't let the Yu family live too comfortably. Besides, they wanted to get into the top 10 in this competition. With that, they could stay in the Demon Sovereign City. Even if they couldn't become the Demon Sovereign's disciple, they could still cultivate in the city and avoid being hunted down by the Yu family. They could also obtain a huge amount of resources, and that wasn't a bad thing for them. After the groups were formed, the elimination round officially began. Actually, most of the warriors who participated in this elimination round were only at the Heavenly Core realm. Every group had their own battleground. Group 4 sent 2 early Heavenly Core warriors into the arena. Both of them were using swords, and both of them were known for their speed. Because there was no difference in weapons, the one with better martial skills won by a fluke. The battle was very exciting. The transparent protective barrier was hit by countless energy beams, and it produced loud, explosive sounds. Countless spectators were cheering for them. One had to know that most of the people who came this time were here to watch the show. Group 4, second match, Yu Qiong versus Lu Qi. Group 4's puppet judge announced the result of the first match. Then he announced the second match. Ling Xiao furrowed his brows. He was surprised that Yu Qiong could recover so quickly. The Yu family was indeed very strong. Their bodies were destroyed, but they were able to rebuild them in just half a month. It looked like they really couldn't be underestimated. He wanted to see how strong Yu Qiong was after he recovered. Following the judge's announcement, Yu Qiong immediately flew onto the arena. The protective barrier automatically broke open, allowing him to fly in. This protective barrier was very interesting. It didn't affect the outside, but it had a strong defense against the inside. It looked like it was specially made for this kind of arena battle. My name is Lu Qi, please. Lu Qi was also a warrior at the early stage of the extreme stage of Dan, but compared to Yu Qiong, he wasn't as famous. He did things very methodically, and he was very polite. However, Yu Qiong only looked at Lu Qi with contempt and said, "Make your move." That contemptuous look made Lu Qi very unhappy. They were at the same cultivation level, yet he was so disdainful of him. Naturally, he would not show any mercy. Thus, he took out the weapon he was best at and charged towards Yu Qiong. Facing Lu Qi's attack, Yu Qiong just smiled coldly. He didn't even look at it. Clang! When the weapon hit Yu Qiong's body, the sound of metal clashing rang out. "So hard!" Lu Qi exclaimed, but Yu Qiong had already launched an attack. His right hand stabbed toward Lu Qi's throat like a poisonous snake. As he stretched out his right hand, the black, demonic qi rose rapidly, giving off an ancient and boundless feeling. It was an extremely evil feeling. It was like the immemorial demon sword. Yu Qiong's physical body is most likely formed from a divine, grade, heavenly king artifact. He's much stronger than he was half a month ago. No wonder he's so arrogant. In terms of martial skills, Yu Qiong did not have any breakthroughs in this half a month. It was still the same as before. However, the stronger one's physical body, the stronger one's overall strength would be. The key was that one could not use their own weapons in this selection, which undoubtedly gave Yu Qiong a greater advantage. Although Lu Qi was also an early-stage extreme core realm martial artist, the weapon in his hand was not good enough. He was forced to retreat step by step. In the end, the sword pierced through his body and he fell out of the arena. It was announced that he had lost. There was nothing he could do. With the weapon in his hand broken, he immediately lost his advantage. "I protest!" Lu Qi roared. This person condensed his body with a divine grade, heavenly king artifact weapon. But we can't use our own weapons. This is too unfair. Your protest is invalid. If you have the ability, you can also integrate a divine grade, heavenly king artifact weapon into your body. The puppet judge said coldly. This was the rule set by the demon lord, so they naturally could not change it. It was not that they were biased towards the Yu family. Lu Qi had no choice but to retreat. Immediately after, another person from the fourth group went on stage. However, Ling Xiao was no longer interested. In this group, the only ones who could really pose a threat to him were Yu Qiong and this Lu Qi. The others really couldn't. Therefore, he looked at the other arenas, wanting to see if there were any opponents that he needed to pay attention to. Qi Niming is here. When he turned his head, Qi Niming was in the middle of a battle. His appearance had attracted a lot of exclamations. It was not because he was strong. It was because he didn't die. He didn't die and still dared to participate in such a battle. Qi Niming's opponent was just a heavenly core warrior. He was not a threat to him. He was knocked out of the arena by Qi Niming with a single strike. You family, you destroyed my Qi family. I will take revenge for this sooner or later. Qi Niming roared towards the Yu family's grandstand. Then he jumped out of the arena. He was not afraid of offending the Yu family. This was the Demon Lord City. It was impossible for the Yu family to do anything to him. After that, Qi Yaoguang and He Zhu's appearance pushed the Yu family's dissatisfaction to the extreme. No matter if it was Qi Yaoguang or He Zhu, they defeated their opponents easily. After defeating their opponents, they roared out in anger. There were still Black Flame Sect and Qi family's warriors in the crowd. Seeing the three of them appear, they all shouted loudly, "Humph! These bastards still dare to appear here. Pass down my order. Don't let them leave Thunder Mountain alive." Yu Xiangtian looked at the three of them coldly. Not to mention the strength of these three people. Just their appearance here was a serious blow to the Yu family's reputation. This was not good. He was not happy. Look, Blood Spirit Sect Xingyan is here. He is one of the most popular contestants this time. He is ranked 3rd under Yu Qilian and Yu Jiaojiao. Who is his opponent? His opponent is not weak either. He is ranked 30th on the hot list. It should be an exciting battle. What the fuck? He surrendered. What happened? Does Xingyan know some kind of magic? Many martial artists who saw this battle were dumbfounded. Normally, there were more than 10,000 people participating in the selection. Being ranked 30th on the hot list was already very strong. But facing Xingyan, he was defeated before the battle even started. His face was pale, as if he was under some kind of great pressure. This aroused everyone's interest in Xingyan. He is ranked 3rd on the hot list, as expected of someone second only to Yu Jiaojiao and Yu Qilian. I don't know what his cultivation is, but I feel that he is very strong. Ling Xiao also saw the battle, but it had little to do with him. Without the demonic epiphyllum and the giant demon, even 100 of him would not be Xingyan's opponent. But with these two things, he did not care about Xingyan at all. His real target was Yu Xiangtian and Yu Patian, the two demon kings. Chapter 42-74. Of course, there was one more person that Ling Xiao was worried about, and that was Yu Zhongzong. Judging from his aura, he felt like a human devil king. Others might not be able to sense it, but Jiang Chun had the Sky Tyrant martial soul, and his soul force was extremely powerful. With the help of the Tai Chi Eye, he could easily tell. Group 4, Match 11, Ling Xiao versus Yuan Chong. Just as he was thinking, Ling Xiao suddenly heard his name. He lifted his foot and walked into the ring. He looked at his opponent. His opponent wasn't strong. He was just a mid-heavenly core warrior. It could be said that his luck was pretty good. Ha 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 ha, an earth core warrior? Am I seeing things? His opponent, Yuan Chong, was obviously surprised. He didn't know who Ling Xiao was. He didn't know what happened in the Fengdu city half a month ago. He just thought Ling Xiao's cultivation was weak, so he thought he was lucky. Get down, don't get hurt. Yuan Chong waved his hand and said, I'm sorry, I'll take this victory. Ling Xiao smiled lightly. He didn't even transform. He lightly stepped on the ground and used the falling plum clear shadow steps. In an instant, he arrived in front of his opponent. After that, he threw out a punch. Bam! Yuan Chong didn't even have time to react before he was sent flying off the stage. This is impossible. When he landed on the ground, Yuan Chong was still laughing. The expression on his face was still the same as when he was laughing at Ling Xiao a few seconds ago. Thank you for letting me win. Ling Xiao smiled lightly, then he turned around and walked off the stage. His current thoughts were simple. If he didn't have to reveal his true strength, he would try his best not to. He wanted to use his strongest strength at the most critical moment. I don't accept this. This guy used some demonic skill. Yuan Chong couldn't understand why he lost. Objection denied. The puppet judge's voice was still cold. Idiot. Yu Qiong glanced at Yuan Chong. He had fought with Ling Xiao before, so he was very clear that Ling Xiao's combat ability was absolutely not weaker than an ordinary martial artist in the early stage of the ultimate stage of the Dan realm. A heavenly core warrior was no threat to Ling Xiao. This time, Ling Xiao showed mercy. Only an idiot wouldn't understand. He hated Ling Xiao, but he had to admit that Ling Xiao was strong. Group 4, 12 matches, Yu Feng versus Lu Yu. Hee. Seeing this, Ling Xiao could not help but laugh. His luck was really good. In this group, he actually met an old rival. Yu Feng's fleshly body had clearly been remolded. Although it was not as powerful as Yu Qiong's, it was still very close to the level of a divine grade heavenly king artifact. His opponent, Lu Yu, was a warrior who looked more ordinary. Yu Feng is ranked 29th on the hot search list, while that Lu Yu isn't even in the mainstream. That's right. In the fourth group, besides Yu Qiong and Lu Qi, who are both at the extreme core realm, the rest of them are all heavenly core warriors. Yu Feng should be able to win for sure. I wonder if this Lu Yu can withstand 3 moves. I only hope that the competition can be more exciting. Otherwise, it will be boring. Yeah, we spent a lot of money to watch the competition. While the crowd was discussing, Yu Feng and Lu Yu stepped onto the stage at the same time. Ling Xiao looked at Lu Yu, and he couldn't help but laugh. This man had an ordinary appearance and an ordinary temperament, but he knew that this man was not simple. Perhaps among all the people in Group 4, only his Tai Chi eye could see through this man's true strength. Lu Yu's cultivation was no weaker than Yu Feng's. Besides that, Ling Xiao could see something from Lu Yu's eyes. He had the same confidence and aggressiveness as himself. A man like this must have gone through countless setbacks and hardships before he grew up. He was not someone a disciple from a wealthy family like Yu Feng could compare with. On the stage, Yu Feng and Lu Yu were facing each other. They were standing a few dozen meters away from each other. Admit defeat. My target is only Ling Xiao, so don't waste any more time. Yu Feng was very arrogant. Just like the others, he had underestimated Lu Yu. Then why don't you just admit defeat? Lu Yu said with a smile. Hearing this, the crowd cried out in shock. What an arrogant man! He even dared to challenge a perfect heavenly core warrior from the Yu family? Yu Feng was startled as well. Although he had lost to Ling Xiao, there was one fact that didn't change. He was still a perfect heavenly core warrior, and he was stronger than before. In Group 4, besides Ling Xiao and Yu Qiong, he didn't take anyone seriously. He didn't even take Lu Qi, who was an early-stage extreme core warrior, seriously. But now, someone was asking him to admit defeat? Ha 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 ha, looks like you're courting death. Yu Feng's expression abruptly darkened. I'll make sure you die a horrible death in 3 moves. I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Lu Yu said with a faint smile. Arrogant, Yu Feng let out a cold snort. He didn't take out any weapon. He didn't care about the weapons provided by the organizer. Instead, he unleashed his devil shadow martial soul and transformed it into a long blade. Then he charged towards his opponent. With a long blade pointed, black smoke billowed out. An extremely ferocious aura filled the air. It almost completely sealed Lu Yu off, not giving him any chance to escape. So scary, a peak 8th Order Emperor Realm martial skill right from the start. Sigh, only a big family like the Yu family can allow a warrior to easily cultivate such a high-level martial skill. Hearing these people's discussion, Ling Xiao couldn't help but laugh. It looked like in the outside world, it wasn't easy for a heavenly core warrior to cultivate an 8th Order Emperor Realm martial skill. He was really lucky, but he couldn't see any trace of nervousness on Lu Yu's face. This could only mean one thing. Lu Yu had a way to deal with this situation. Die. Yu Feng's attack wasn't weak. If it was half a month ago, even Ling Xiao wouldn't have dared to take it head-on. If he didn't handle it well, he would have been injured. Yu Feng had absolute confidence that he could defeat Lu Yu or even kill him. Moreover, his moves were continuous and unending. Once hit, the black aura would completely devour Lu Yu. Lu Yu wouldn't have any chance to fight back. Lu Yu would be completely defeated. Lu Yu just stood there. He had no intention of dodging. In his hand was the sword provided by the organizer. He gently thrust it upwards. This sword wasn't as weak as he thought, because it was an immortal grade, heavenly king weapon. A white light shot out like a waterfall. It turned into a white tiger and pounced towards the black aura. Roar! The tiger roared, and the black aura instantly dispersed. Lu Yu's expression was as calm as ever. It was as if he had just done something insignificant. How is this possible? Yu Feng hurriedly stepped back. His attack was not weak at all. Although it could not be said to be his most powerful attack, it was still very powerful. But his opponent had broken it so easily. How was this possible? Besides Ling Xiao, he had never met an opponent like this. Could it be another Ling Xiao? When he thought of Ling Xiao, his mind was in a mess. What an interesting guy. Ling Xiao looked at Lu Yu with interest. Lu Yu's attack wasn't that strong. His attack was at most a mid-8th Order Emperor Realm Martial skill. But it broke his opponent's peak 8th Order Emperor Realm Martial skill. It wasn't because of its power, it was because he had grasped the weakness of his opponent's attack. Genius 1, second, remember the site address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 4275. In Ling Xiao's view, Lu Yu's move was not powerful, but he had completely seen through the weakness of Yu Feng's move. Then he used the characteristics of his own move. He resolved it from the weakest point. As long as the gap between the two martial skills was not too great, the difference in strength between the two was not too great, he could win. This was also his favorite fighting style in the past. But it seemed that recently, because of the increase in strength, Ling Xiao himself gradually neglected his advantage in this aspect. He used pure strength to suppress the opponent. Now that he thought about it, he had lost his greatest treasure. Fortunately, seeing Lu Yu's fighting style made Ling Xiao recall his past memories. To deal with the enemy, the stronger the move, the better. The most suitable one was the best. So strong, this Lu Yu, he actually broke Yu Feng's attack with a casual sword. That's right. It seems like the selection this time isn't as simple as we thought it would be. Who knows, there might really be a lot of dark horses. The others basically did not see the reason for Lu Yu's victory. But although they did not understand, they felt that it was powerful. They could still feel Lu Yu's strength. Originally, they thought that it would be a one-sided battle. But now it suddenly became exciting. Of course, they were happy. Shadow Soul Locking Saber. Although Yu Feng's attack was broken, his mentality quickly recovered. Because he knew that if he could not even defeat Lu Yu, then there was no need to talk about taking revenge on Ling Xiao. That was simply a dream. Since his move did not succeed, then he continued to attack. The shadow saber in his hand waved. A strange, ring-shaped saber chi spun towards Lu Yu from an angle. This guy really has some ability. Lu Yu watched for a long time. He also did not find the flaw in Yu Feng's move. In helplessness, he gritted his teeth and could only meet force with force. Immediately, all the vital essence in his body was activated. Terrifying sword chi constantly swallowed and spat out. A dazzling sword light appeared behind his back. It was his sword martial spirit, a pure sword martial spirit, without any other attributes. But the increase in sword moves was even more terrifying. Forward with indomitable will, with a roar, the sword light bloomed and directly swung out. Boom! This sword light was incomparably terrifying. It truly displayed Lu Yu's terrifying strength. He was indeed stronger than Yu Feng. Even if he didn't use any techniques, he was still much stronger than Yu Feng. The sword light erased the black blade. Then he went straight for Yu Feng. It's over, Ling Xiao said softly. At this point, he could already see that there was a gap between Yu Feng and Lu Yu in terms of skill and strength. The two of them were not on the same level at all. Even though their cultivations were on par with one another, Lu Yu was definitely someone who could challenge those above him. After several moves, Yu Feng was defeated. It was just as Ling Xiao had said. This battle made him very sullen, but there was nothing he could do about it. His opponent was restricting him in every way, and he had no way of defeating him. After defeating Yu Feng, Lu Yu's popularity in the fourth group rose rapidly. However, people still felt that he was no match for Lu Qi and Yu Qiong. After all, no matter how strong Lu Yu was, he was still just a peak heavenly core warrior. As for Ling Xiao, other than those who knew of his reputation, no one cared about him. Lu Yu is probably going to advance easily. There aren't any strong warriors in the fourth group. That's right, his luck is pretty good. If he enters the group of death, he'll be in big trouble. But then again, even if he's lucky now, it's useless. If he's not strong enough, once he enters the second round of elimination and the groups merge, he'll have to face a strong warrior sooner or later. You're right. After all, those who are able to enter the top 10 and stay in Demon Sovereign City are at least at the extreme core realm. That's right, those below the extreme core realm are just playing with the Crown Prince. As time went by, the matches were being carried out in an orderly manner. At the beginning, because there were more people, the gap between their strengths was huge. Most of the battles lasted for a short time. Therefore, the battles were extremely fast. Most of the matches ended in just 2 or 3 moves. Some even admitted defeat. However, by the time the second round of the elimination round was over, the speed of the competition would not be as fast. The rest of the people were definitely strong, and they wouldn't admit defeat so easily. While participating in the battles, Ling Xiao was also paying attention to the few warriors on his side. Ling Jiaojiao naturally didn't need to worry. 9th level of the Shattered Core Realm. This was simply a heaven-defying existence. After one battle after another, she won every single one of them. This was because her opponents all admitted defeat. Even if they didn't admit defeat, she could crush them with her aura alone. Qi Niming's battle was also basically nothing to worry about. This kid's strength had already broken through to the extreme core realm during the fight for the demonic epiphyllum. This time, Ling Xiao even gave him a shattered core divine water, which made his cultivation soar. He advanced to the first level of the shattered core realm, although he wasn't as strong as Ling Jiaojiao, but he was basically invincible, because there were only a few people who could really suppress him. The chances of encountering them were extremely low. Black Pearl and Qi Yaoguang were relatively unlucky. They had already lost 2 matches. But it wasn't their fault that they lost. They had already reached the early stage of the extreme core realm. But they just had to encounter warriors at the late stage and the extreme core realm. It was impossible not to lose. These 2 people were smart. They tried their best to preserve their strength. Once they saw that the situation wasn't right, they immediately admitted defeat. It didn't matter if they lost 2 matches as long as they advanced. Otherwise, once they were seriously injured, they would be directly eliminated. Don't even think about advancing. Ling Xiao was paying attention to others. Others were also paying attention to him. My good brother, you must be careful. Ling Jiaojiao saw Ling Xiao step onto the arena again, and this time his opponent was actually Yu Qiong. This was already Ling Xiao's second time facing Yu Qiong. Although Ling Xiao defeated Yu Qiong half a month ago, logically speaking, Ling Jiaojiao shouldn't be worried. But the current Yu Qiong wasn't the Yu Qiong half a month ago. Not to mention that Ling Xiao still couldn't use a suitable weapon. This was a bit difficult. On the arena, Ling Xiao and Yu Qiong faced each other 50 meters apart. Seeing this old opponent, he suddenly smiled. Surrender, Yu Qiong. It wasn't easy to get this body. Do you want to lose it again? Bullshit. Don't think that you can easily defeat me this time just because you won against me before. Today, I must take revenge for half a month ago. When Yu Qiong saw Ling Xiao, he couldn't calm down. These days, he would have nightmares every day. He dreamed of the scene where he was defeated by Ling Xiao. That was called miserable. Revenge was on his mind all the time. Today, the opportunity was finally in front of him. How could he not be excited? Really, I'm good to you. Ling Xiao really didn't have much interest in the enemies that he had defeated before, although Yu Qiong's cultivation was very strong. But those who lost to him would leave a demonic shadow in their hearts. A genius remembers this site's address in 1 second. Chapter 4276. Because of the devil's shadow in her heart, Yu Qiong couldn't display her true strength during the battle. Perhaps Ling Xiao had to expend a lot of effort to defeat Yu Qiong half a month ago, but today he only needed a little trick to settle it. Then I would like to see what makes you look down on me. Yu Qiong roared and charged towards Ling Xiao. She used her strongest move, Devil's Sword howling heaven and earth. She even entered the devil state. Seeing this scene, many people couldn't understand. What's going on? That person from the Yu family. Is there a need to go that far to deal with an Earth Core Realm martial artist? Don't you know? Half a month ago, Yu Qiong was defeated by that guy called Ling Xiao. Even her physical body was destroyed. That's called miserable. Impossible. What's impossible? I was at the scene and saw it with my own eyes. Don't underestimate that Ling Xiao. Those who underestimate him are all unlucky in the end. As they were talking, they suddenly heard a cry of surprise. They quickly looked over. They saw Yu Qiong actually stopped on the stage. Her forehead was dripping with sweat. Her face was extremely pale. Her body seemed to be under some kind of spell. She couldn't move. Her eyes were filled with confusion. On the other side, Ling Xiao's devil eye only flickered slightly. He made Yu Qiong fall into the battle half a month ago. It greatly stimulated Yu Qiong's inner demon. There was no need to fight this battle. Yu Qiong would tire herself to death. Ling Xiao lifted his leg and walked towards Yu Qiong. He said that if Yu Qiong made a move, he would cripple her physical body. Since he said it, then he had to do it. If they really had to fight later, Yu Qiong would have less trouble without her physical body. Ling Xiao, stop. He doesn't have any strength to resist. On the Yu family's spectator stand, Yu Dingtian roared. Why, are you feeling heartache now? If you feel heartache for him, then you shouldn't let him deal with me. It's better to admit defeat. It's not like I didn't give him a chance. Ling Xiao sneered and didn't give Yu Dingtian any face. He raised his right hand and a terrifying aura gushed out. It shattered Yu Qiong's body, including her Naiden. Previously, he didn't dare to kill Yu Qiong and the Yu family because he was afraid that the Yu family would do something desperate. However, this was the demon's sovereign city. He was not afraid. Yu Qiong had caused trouble for him twice. How could he still let her off? The higher-ups of the Yu family had gloomy expressions on their faces. Ling Xiao, you're dead. Haha. Countless people have said that to me before. But in the end, it doesn't seem like I'm the one who died. Ling Xiao smiled. He didn't take their words seriously at all. Threatening him? He wasn't someone who could be scared. This person is really awesome. He's not even afraid of the Yu family. He's even more arrogant than Lu Yu. Not only that, but what I'm puzzled about is that he is only at the complete Earth Core realm. But how could he so easily kill a martial artist at the early stage of the extreme stage of Dan? That's hard to say. There are many geniuses in this world who don't play by the rules. You'll never know how powerful he is. No matter what, he's probably going to get first place in the fourth group. Even Lu Qi couldn't defeat Yu Qiong, but he easily won. I agree with that too. Perhaps Ling Xiao wasn't much in the other groups, but in the fourth group he was basically the strongest existence. There was nothing wrong with saying that he would advance as first place. This guy, Lu Yu and Lu Qi both looked at Ling Xiao. They didn't even know how Ling Xiao defeated Yu Qiong. However, it was impossible for them to admit defeat so easily. Since they participated in this selection, they had already disregarded life and death. Death was death, but people couldn't be cowards. Moreover, they didn't have any deep grudges with Ling Xiao. Thinking about it, Ling Xiao wouldn't treat them the way he treated Yu Qiong. Lu Qi and Lu Yu both had a backbone. However, not everyone was like that. When it was Ling Xiao's turn again, the opponent directly admitted defeat. Obviously, after weighing the pros and cons, it was impossible to win if they fought to the death. Not only would it lead to excessive consumption, but there was also no benefit. Therefore, they naturally gave up. In fact, for Ling Xiao, it didn't matter whether the opponent admitted defeat or not. Anyway, they couldn't pose any threat to him and couldn't even exhaust him much. In Ling Xiao's next few matches, his opponents directly admitted defeat. Ever since he defeated Yu Qiong, he had become extremely relaxed. Qi Yaoguang and Black Pearl steadily advanced. Although they lost 2 matches, their strength was there. As for Qi Niming, he advanced with a complete victory. Needless to say, Yu Qiren and Ling Jiaojiao advanced. Soon, the first round of elimination was over. 12 people in each group advanced. Basically, among the people that Ling Xiao knew, Yu Qiong was the only one who was eliminated because he killed her. The others all advanced, including the girl in green. However, in the second round of elimination, it would probably be a bit difficult for the girl in green. In the second round of elimination, there were basically no weaklings. Probably every match would be a tough battle. Her chances of advancing were not high. However, the girl in green was open-minded. She came here to train anyway. After 1 round of elimination, people had a general understanding of the contestant's strength. Therefore, some busybodies ranked the so-called 10 on the heaven list and 10 on the earth list. On the heaven list, there were experts in the core fragmentation realm. Yu Qiren, Ling Jiaojiao, Yu Zhangzong, Xingyun, Fire Spirit, Dao Shuilan, Jian Wuqing, Yu Nu, Yu Ruo, Qi Niming. On the earth list, there were experts below the extreme core realm. First, Yu Hua, extreme core realm. Second, Yu Luo, extreme core realm. Third, Yang Mu, late stage extreme core realm. Fourth, Xuemoyun, late stage extreme core realm. Fifth, Lu Yan, late stage extreme core realm. Sixth and seventh were 2 dark horses called Luo Shui and Qin Dao. They were both in the middle stage of the extreme core realm. 8th and 9th belonged to He Zhu and Qi Yaoguang. They were both in the early stage of the extreme core realm. As for the 10th place, it was very interesting. People gave a parallel list: Lu Qi, Ling Xiao, Lu Yu, Shuiya. Of course, this so-called heaven list and earth list was only ranked by the spectators. After all, it was only the elimination stage. Most of the warriors did not explode with their true strength. Therefore, this list was actually not accurate. However, it still had a certain reference value. After all, if one's cultivation was strong, they would definitely have an advantage. This was definitely not wrong. After waiting for an hour of rest, the second round of elimination began. In this round, the first 12 groups merged into 6 groups. This merger was random. Therefore, no one knew who the enemy was at the beginning, until after the merger. Each group became 24 people. The 4th and 8th groups that Ling Xiao was in were merged, becoming the new 6th group. After the grouping was completed, the battle resumed. There were 24 people in each group, and 12 people still advanced. The rules were the same as the first round of elimination. Genius 1, second, remember the site address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 4277. A 50% chance of advancing wasn't low, but they were all eliminated in the first round. Of course, they weren't weak. Therefore, the difficulty was much higher than the first round. Moreover, if there were only 24 people, the chances of them encountering each other in 10 battles would be much higher. In Group 6, besides Ling Xiao, Lu Qi Luyu, and Yu Feng from Group 4, there were also warriors from Group 8. The scariest warrior in Group 8 was Dao Shuilan, who was ranked on the heaven ranking. He was a shattered core warrior. Anyone below the extreme core realm would have to kneel before him. Aside from Dao Shuilan, there were also Luo Shui and Qin Dao, who were ranked 8th and 9th on the earth ranking. Shuiya, who was ranked 10th, and Guanshan, who was ranked 21st. Either way, none of them were easy to deal with. First match of Group 6, Yufeng versus Guan Shan. Both of them were at the peak heavenly core realm. Although they weren't ranked on the heaven ranking and earth ranking, they were quite famous. Besides, they had only lost one match in the first round of elimination. Their results were quite good. Therefore, everyone thought this match would be an even match, and it would be an exciting match. Yufeng had lost to Liu before. Therefore, even if he had never heard of Guan Shan's name, he would never underestimate his opponent again. When the match began, Yufeng attacked fiercely. He tried to suppress Guan Shan in the shortest amount of time. Both of them were using blades as their weapons. Both of them attacked fiercely, and the fight was very exciting. But Yufeng attacked 3 times in a row, but he couldn't do anything to Guan Shan. On the contrary, Guan Shan gradually found a chance to counterattack, and he regained some of his advantage. Looks like Yufeng is going to lose. He couldn't attack fiercely, and his advantage was turned around. It looked just like the fight between Yufeng and Lu Yu in the first round of elimination. Many people around Ling Xiao thought Yufeng was going to lose again. He was really unlucky. Guan Shan is going to lose. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, "Why?" Someone didn't understand. Yufeng is a genius. He grows very fast. When he fought with Lu Yu for the first time, he only remembered to attack fiercely. But this time, he learned how to use strategy. Just watch. Guan Shan will lose in less than 3 moves. Ling Xiao was very confident in his judgment. TCH, who do you think you are? You're only ranked 10th on the Earth leaderboard. Several people were not convinced by Ling Xiao's judgment. However, a moment later, Yufeng suddenly defeated his opponent in 1 move, stabbing Guan Shan off the stage. Guan Shan didn't understand how he lost, but Ling Xiao could see it clearly. This time, Yufeng had used Lu Yu's combat skills to pinpoint Guan Shan's weakness and suddenly suppress him. Even though Yufeng was an enemy, even though Yufeng had been defeated by Ling Xiao, but Yufeng was also a genius. This would not change. You're right. You're not a fortune teller, are you? Many people looked at Ling Xiao, their faces full of admiration. Hee, fortune telling? Ling Xiao smiled. As long as one's eyesight was good enough, as long as one had enough battle experience, one would be able to tell. The 6th group's matches didn't proceed as quickly as before. Basically, every match would last for 1 to 200 moves before it ended. Of course, there were exceptions. That was Dao Xuelan's battle. Opponents who met Dao Xuelan would immediately surrender, because there was no need to fight to the death. Luo Xue, Qin Dao, Lu Qi, and a few others had also won their first match. Ling Xiao had also seen it. Luo Xue and Qin Dao's strength was on par. The middle stage of the extreme core stage was not an exaggeration. Their opponents were basically no match for them. So these two were also very arrogant. In this group, other than Dao Xuelan, they didn't care about anyone else. First round of matches, 12th match, Ling Xiao versus Lu Yu. Lu Yu? Ling Xiao was stunned. This was interesting. He had actually wanted to compete with Lu Yu before. Just right, now was a good opportunity. Lu Yu had defeated Yufeng before, but Ling Xiao had defeated Yu Qiong, which gave him some pressure. So facing Ling Xiao, Lu Yu didn't dare to be careless. Luo Xue looked at Qin Dao and smiled. That Ling Xiao looks like he's only at the peak of the Earth core stage, but his physical body is strong. Lu Yu is definitely not his opponent, but Lu Yu is also not an ordinary person. I'm afraid this battle is going to be a long one. It's just chickens pecking at each other, Qin Dao said disdainfully. Ha ha ha, that's true. Luo Xue laughed. Whether it was Lu Yu or Ling Xiao, in their eyes, they were just side characters. Ling Xiao and Lu Yu naturally couldn't hear the conversation between the two. Even if they heard it, they wouldn't say anything. This was because they had all focused their attention on their opponents. I know you're strong, but it won't be that easy to beat me. Lu Yu looked at Ling Xiao, took a deep breath, and then exhaled, holding a long sword in his hand. He suddenly released his sword, martial spirit. Originally, I wanted to have some fun with you, but since you said so, I can only defeat you quickly. Otherwise, wouldn't it seem that I'm a little too useless? Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Hearing this, Lu Yu's face turned cold. He wasn't angry, but he was very puzzled. Ling Xiao didn't reveal much of his strength in the first round of the elimination round. Defeating Yu Qiong was actually relying on something inexplicable. Until now, many people still didn't understand. Disciple, don't be swayed by his words. You are you. You have to believe that you can defeat him. You walked step by step from the bottom to where you are now. The hardships you've suffered are not something that others can compare to. A voice came from the audience. It was an old man. It could be seen that he was very confident in Lu Yu. Lu Yu nodded, and his expression gradually became serious. His eyes also revealed a strong sense of confidence. He had to win, for his master, and for himself. When he was at his lowest, it was his master who helped him. He absolutely couldn't let his master down. Sai, what a pity. Your master is a good person and you're not bad, but I can't lose to you. So, I won't let you lose too badly. Ling Xiao sighed. Originally, he wanted to end this battle with one move. But when he saw the trembling old man in the stands, he thought to himself, forget it. He would give the other party some face. What's more, if he didn't transform, it would be very difficult to defeat Lu Yu. It was a good opportunity to train himself. Thinking of this, he took a long sword from the weapon rack. A celestial grade, heavenly king artifact weapon was of the same level as the scarlet gold sword. It wasn't bad. Please advise me. Whoosh! The moment Lu Yu's voice fell, he launched an attack. He planned to strike, first to gain the upper hand, because after standing for a long time, he still couldn't find where Ling Xiao's weakness was. In other words, Ling Xiao was full of weaknesses and flaws, but he didn't know which one was the real one. He could only attack. Advance with indomitable will. This was the blow that defeated Yu Feng before. It was sharp and powerful. The sword Qi soared to several feet wide. It stabbed at Ling Xiao. Chapter 4278. Bam! Ling Xiao stabbed out with his sword at the same time, and the terrifying sword Qi collided with each other. Lu Yu's body tilted from the impact. However, Ling Xiao was pushed back 4 to 5 steps. The moment he was pushed back, Ling Xiao discovered something very interesting. The blooming sky demon epiphyllum in the mountain river realm in his body actually emitted a resplendent glow. It seemed to be eager to perform. A wave of energy entered his body through the glow. This caused his combat strength to soar instantly. Although it wasn't as great as directly using the sky demon epiphyllum, there was still a certain effect. At the very least, his current strength was close to that of an ordinary transformation. If he transformed, he would probably be even stronger. Master, what's going on? After all, he wasn't very experienced and could only ask the Yuan Venerate for help. The sky demon epiphyllum is actually divided into 4 parts: fruit, petals, stem, and roots. Consuming a part of it will bring different improvements. Only by consuming the entire sky demon epiphyllum will the rumored effects be achieved. Consuming the fruit will allow a martialist to reach the extreme core realm instantly. Consuming the flower petals will allow a martialist to reach the first 3 tiers of the shattered core realm instantly. Consuming the stem will allow a martialist to reach the middle 3 tiers of the shattered core realm instantly. Consuming the roots will allow a martialist to reach the last 3 tiers of the shattered core realm instantly. Of course, these realms are temporary and can only be maintained for 48 hours. If consumed completely, a martialist can reach the divine physique realm instantly for only half an hour. The Yuan Venerate explained. They can actually be consumed separately. Why didn't you say so earlier? I almost used them all. That would have been such a waste. Ling Xiao shook his head and smiled bitterly. His master was really good at sitting still. I thought you knew, the Yuan Venerate said. All right, master, you can rest now. I won't disturb you any further. Ling Xiao was fighting with Lu Yu. If he was distracted by talking, it would be easy for him to fail miserably. At the moment, Lu Yu was clearly a little stunned. Ling Xiao, I don't need your sympathy. I hope you don't hold back. Lu Yu forced Ling Xiao to retreat, but he wasn't happy. He felt that Ling Xiao was humiliating him. All right, since this is your request. Ling Xiao sighed softly. In the next moment, he had already transformed into the unbounded heavenly rat. A terrifying aura gushed out crazily from the spot. In that instant, Lu Yu felt as if he had encountered a terrifying monster. Just this aura alone was enough to make him tremble in fear. Fear and unease. Thank you. Lu Yu finally burst out again, the long sword in his hand trembling. The sword light poured down like a rainstorm. Rainstorm sword. In the face of this attack, Ling Xiao did not make a move. A terrifying aura gushed out like a gigantic demon, engulfing the rainstorm sword. So strong! Lu Yu sucked in a breath of cold air. His opponent had actually broken his sword move with just his aura alone. This aura had already condensed into something substantial. It was too terrifying. Gritting his teeth, Lu Yu refused to admit defeat, just like that. In that instant, he used his movement technique and turned into a sword light as he pounced forward. The next moment, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Sparks flew everywhere. At this moment, the audience below the stage were all shocked. In the arena, Lu Yu was flashing like a sword light, constantly charging towards Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao stood still on the spot. He did not even use his sword. It was just that his right hand had already turned into an afterimage. He was only using one finger to block Lu Yu's crazy attacks. Traces of sword light kept appearing on the arena. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was completely unharmed. This Ling Xiao is too terrifying. He can actually block the attack of a celestial-grade Heavenly Emperor weapon with just his fingernail? Yeah, he's a freak. How can this be? The more Lu Yu fought, the less confident he became. He had already increased his speed to the extreme. He did not hold back in every attack. However, he could not hurt Ling Xiao at all. He could not even cut through his opponent's fingernail. This caused his confidence to suffer a serious blow. Ling Xiao was clearly full of flaws. However, that hand was able to completely cover up all the flaws in the technique. He did not give him the slightest chance to attack. A few minutes later, Lu Yu stopped this meaningless attack. He returned to 50 meters away and looked at Ling Xiao with a heavy expression. Admit defeat. You're no match for me. With your intelligence, you should understand. Ling Xiao said indifferently, let yourself lose more decently. It's impossible to admit defeat. Don't be too confident. Next is my most powerful attack. It's also an attack that I'm proud of. If you can take it, I'll lose. If you can't, you'll lose. After saying that, an even sharper sword intent surged out from Lu Yu's body. It was as if it could pierce through the surrounding light wall. Ling Xiao could also feel that the other party should still have a trump card. However, he suddenly stepped on the ground and his figure turned into a flash of light. He had already arrived in front of Lu Yu. You'd better save this move for others. It's useless against me. Boom! A punch landed on Lu Yu's stomach, sending him flying out of the arena. One punch. Lu Yu was defeated. Actually, from the beginning until the end of the fight, Ling Xiao had only used one real attack. This was Ling Xiao's current strength. He could basically crush all warriors below the heavenly core realm. The moment Lu Yu fell from the arena, the audience was stunned, and the entire arena was dead silent. Many people had realized how strong Ling Xiao was, but when they saw Ling Xiao defeat Lu Yu so easily, they still couldn't believe it. Before this, Ling Xiao had never used the beast god's soul to transform. He had won the first stage of the elimination round with just his true form. This transformation was too strong. Lu Yu, who was ranked 10th in the Earth ranking, was nothing in front of Ling Xiao. I'm afraid Luyu is no longer qualified to be ranked in the Earth ranking. Some people in the audience shook their heads. They felt it was a pity for Luyu. That's right, Ling Xiao is too strong. It's not that he's strong. It's that we don't know what the ceiling of his combat strength is. Look at how easy it is for him to win. No one knows how much strength he used. That's right, this man is too mysterious. He's only at the peak Earth core realm, but he can do things that only warriors at the extreme core realm can do. But that's it for him. If he meets a real extreme core warrior, he won't be able to do it. If he meets a shattered core warrior, he won't stand a chance. You're right. But for us, the next match might be even more exciting. Luo Shui and Chen Dao had a new understanding of Ling Xiao's strength. This kid, he might be able to withstand a few attacks from us. That better be the case, or else it'll be boring. As for the rest of the heavenly ranking, besides Qi Niming, who took a few more glances at Ling Xiao, the rest of the people still had the same indifferent expression. In their eyes, Ling Xiao was just a clown. Genius 1, second, remember the site address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 4279. To the people on the heaven roll, Ling Xiao was still just an ant. There was nothing to worry about. The difference between the earth roll and heaven roll was too great. It was so great that they were not on the same level at all. He's just a little bug. I can easily crush him with one hand. Yu Ruo snorted in disdain. He knew that Ling Xiao had caused a ruckus in the Yu family. However, he was almost 100 years old and did not have the right to challenge Ling Xiao. Otherwise, he would have beaten Ling Xiao into a fool long ago. Yu Hua, who was ranked first on the earth roll, also did not take Ling Xiao seriously. He only has the fate of being ranked 10th on the earth roll. It's impossible for him to improve any further. In the ring, Ling Xiao saw everyone's expressions. Some were surprised, some were mocking him. However, it did not mean anything to him. Under normal circumstances, these people were indeed qualified to mock him. However, he had obtained the demonic epiphyllum, so everything was different. He smiled lightly and turned to leave the ring. Lu Yu looked at Ling Xiao's back and sighed helplessly. He had never fought with Ling Xiao before, so he did not know how terrifying Ling Xiao's strength was. The moment he was sent flying, he could clearly feel a terrifying power in Ling Xiao's body that made him tremble. This power had not been released, but it could already easily defeat him. How terrifying would it be once it was released? Master, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Lu Yu looked at his master and smiled bitterly. No, you've already tried your best. This is not your fault. He's too strong. Master, I don't know if it's an illusion, but I feel that Ling Xiao is going to make big news. Lu Yu smiled bitterly. Then let's wait and see. Also, you have to continue working hard. Got it, Master. Lu Yu was not depressed because he lost to Ling Xiao. On the contrary, he was very calm. There was nothing to be embarrassed about losing to such a person. The competition continued. It was still the 6th group. This time it was Shueya. She was ranked 10th on the earth roll. However, everyone had clearly underestimated Shueya. Other than Yu Feng, Lu Qi, Lu Yu, and Ling Xiao, her opponent was the only other person in the 4th group who was undefeated. However, this person was only able to withstand a single blow from her before he was defeated. Shueya also revealed her true cultivation level, the early stage of the extreme core stage. After defeating her opponent, Shueya looked at Ling Xiao provocatively. It was as if he was trying to say that he was stronger than Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao did not look at him. At this moment, Ling Xiao's gaze was directed towards another arena. There, Ling Jiaojiao had just defeated her opponent. Damn it, don't let me meet you later. Otherwise, I'll definitely let you know how powerful I am. Shueya gritted her teeth and walked down the arena. She hated being looked down upon the most. Soon, the first round of Group SIXS second elimination round ended. They entered the second round of the competition. The first match of the second round, Dao Shuilan versus Shen Dao. Hearing this voice, Chen Dao's complexion instantly changed. How unlucky. I didn't expect to meet Dao Shuilan so soon. Qin Dao wanted to admit defeat. However, he felt that it was too embarrassing. It was said that Dao Shuilan's cultivation level was at the shattered core stage. However, in reality, Dao Shuilan did not show it in the previous battles. She had always been fighting with the combat power of the extreme core stage. What if I win? Qin Dao went up the arena with the mentality of a fluke. Dao Shuilan also went up the arena expressionlessly. Although Qin Dao is powerful, he actually dared to challenge Dao Shuilan. Isn't he asking for trouble? Someone laughed. Yeah, Dao Shuilan is ranked 6th on the heaven leaderboard. Qin Dao is only ranked 9th on the earth leaderboard. The gap is too big. Hee, I don't know what Qin Dao is thinking. Anyway, I definitely admit defeat. Just as everyone was discussing, Dao Shuilan suddenly spoke. 30 years ago, we fought at the same cultivation level. I lost miserably to you. Today, I'll control my cultivation level to the middle stage of the extreme core stage. Let's fight again. I didn't expect Dao Shuilan and Qin Dao to have such a grudge. But Dao Shuilan's method is a bit impulsive. She could have used her cultivation level to suppress him. This is the pride of a genius. That's true. Most of the geniuses I've seen are like this. But if this is the case, it's hard to say who will win. Yes, this battle might become even more interesting. While everyone was discussing, Qin Dao laughed. I haven't seen you for 30 years, and you're still so arrogant. It's just that the genius of the past has grown into an existence that I can't look down on. Qin Dao took a deep breath, then exhaled. But are you sure? You'll lose. Dao Shuilan smiled. I've said it before. If I lose, I'll admit that I'm unlucky. If I can't defeat you at the same cultivation level, I won't be able to get rid of my inner demons. All right, if that's the case, then come at me. Qin Dao didn't waste time. This was an opportunity for him. Since his opponent lowered her cultivation level to fight him, he had a high chance of winning. After all, 30 years ago, Dao Shuilan had been defeated by him. Although his opponent's cultivation level had far surpassed his because of her talent, that defeat would never change. Kill. Qin Dao chose a heavy broadsword from the weapon rack. Then, his figure flashed as he pounced on Dao Shuilan. When he was 7 or 8 meters away from Dao Shuilan, the broadsword suddenly slashed down. The sound of it breaking through the air was like a mountain collapsing. It gave people the feeling that it was not a saber, but sharp mountain range. A giant blade from beyond the heavens. Dao Shuilan looked at her opponent silently. The broadsword in his hand was a slender tang sword. Ling Xiao had seen this type of broadsword before. It didn't look like much, but whether it was a slash or a stab, it was extremely powerful. The moment Qin Dao's broadsword slashed down, Dao Shuilan waved the tang sword in her hand to meet it. Clang! A crisp sound of collision rang out. The sky was filled with flashes of light. Heavy Blade's attack, which looked powerful enough to split open the arena, was easily blocked by Dao Shuilan. The most surprising thing was that Dao Shuilan's arm didn't tremble at all. In the air, a faint blue light could be seen flickering. Interesting, using the water element to weaken the opponent's attack, and then easily blocking it. Wonderful. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. If it was a head-on clash, Dao Shuilan wouldn't be able to block Qin Dao's terrifying attack. But Dao Shuilan's technique had been perfected. He probably specialized in water-type vital essence, and his martial soul was probably related to water. Water could create resistance, causing the opponent's attack to be greatly weakened. This is Dao Shuilan's famous technique, the flowing water broadsword technique. But he obviously controlled the power of the broadsword technique. Otherwise, this kind of martial skill at the peak of the 9th level of the martial emperor realm could completely crush the heavy saber. Someone beside him said, "It seemed like there were many hidden talents in this crowd." Ling Xiao didn't know what broadsword technique it was, but they did. Please remember the domain name of this book. Come read the mobile version website. Chapter 4280. So what if it's the flowing water knife technique? You won't be able to unleash its true power if we're of the same cultivation. Although he said that, Qin Dao's expression was serious. Dao Shuelan was very strong. Even if she lowered her cultivation to his level, she was still very strong. Letting out a long breath, Qin Dao began to channel his true essence into the large knife in his hand. A crimson color appeared on the large knife. It emitted a terrifyingly high temperature. At the same time, a fiery red demon wolf appeared behind him. That should be his martial soul, Fire Cloud Wolf Soul. Dao Shuelan, you'll still lose today. Heavenly Fire 9 slashes. Following Qin Dao's roar, the entire arena seemed to be engulfed in flames. For a moment, Qin Dao's figure was nowhere to be seen. Only the terrifying flames pounced on Dao Shuelan. Dao Shuelan's expression remained unchanged. A water dragon spiraled up, forming a spiraling water column around his body. Bang! The flaming blade finally slashed down, but it was blocked by the water dragon. Although Qin Dao's move was very strong and strange, normal warriors wouldn't be able to tell where his real body was. It was even more impossible to block his attack. But Dao Shuelan's defense was also very strong. Although he was a swordsman, Dao Shuelan could control the water element. The fiery red knife continued to slash down, but it was blocked by the roaring water dragon. One after another, water splashed everywhere. Fire boiled. Fire and water engaged in the most intense battle in the arena. The scene was truly thrilling. Heavenly Fire 9 slashes. It was the 9 slashes. One after another wouldn't stop. Once used, he had to defeat his opponent. Bang! The 9th slash. He actually managed to chop the water dragon and scatter it. Dao Shuelan was also forced back dozens of steps by the roaring flames. If the arena wasn't big enough, he would have lost. The audience was so nervous that they even forgot to cheer. Even breathing felt like a waste of time. In the next moment, Dao Shuelan, who had retreated, finally launched a counterattack. He was obviously waiting for this moment. The moment Qin Dao finished using the 9 slashes, it was time for him to counterattack. The knife came, and the water dragon roared again. It opened its mouth and pounced on Qin Dao. It was even more powerful than the Heavenly Fire 9 slashes. Boom! Although Qin Dao desperately tried to resist, he was still knocked out and fell dozens of meters away, almost falling out of the ring. Bah! As expected, he's not easy to deal with. Qin Dao climbed up and looked coldly at Dao Shuelan. Let's decide the victor with this attack. Sure, Dao Shuelan seemed to want to completely defeat Qin Dao and resolve her inner demons, as long as Qin Dao did not surrender. In that case, this battle would have to continue. Moreover, he wanted Qin Dao to accept his defeat wholeheartedly. Qin Dao nodded. The howling fire cloud wolf soul behind him merged into his weapon. Instead of fusing his physical body with the wolf soul, he chose to fuse his weapon with the wolf soul. This was also a choice. The long saber that had fused with the fire cloud wolf soul seemed to have become another weapon. It was filled with a ferocious aura, and even its appearance had changed. Fire cloud critical strike. Lose for me. Brandishing his long blade, a ferocious fire wolf roared. Many people below the stage covered their ears. That sound was real, and it was very ear-piercing. This terrifying aura was as if the fire cloud wolf, an ancient beast, had come back to life. One claw seemed to be able to split the sky and the earth. Is this Qin Dao's strength? It is indeed terrifying. Someone exclaimed. A warrior in the middle stage of the ultimate core realm is not to be trifled with. Can Dao Shuelan block this sure-kill move? She should be able to. After all, Dao Shuelan is an expert in the shattered core realm. Even if she can't break through the shattered core realm, her experience is there. Ling Xiao looked at Dao Shuelan. This person would definitely become one of his strongest opponents in the future. In this election, he wanted to use the demonic epiphyllum to defeat all the heroes. But next time, he wanted to rely on his true strength. Water dragon roar. Dragon emerges from the sea. Dao Shuelan shouted coldly and stabbed out with the saber in her hand. A huge water dragon seemed to rise from the deep sea. Its blue body was about to completely extinguish the fire wolf. Rumble. The entire arena let out a huge roar. The light wall also shook violently, like a plastic bag blown by a strong wind. If it were not for the light wall, the spectators would have been injured by the radiating saber chi. PFFF! The fire wolf collapsed with a sorrowful cry. Qian Dao spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying out of the arena. Dao Shuelan did not look good either. She had forcefully lowered her cultivation and did not recover at the last moment. So this collision could be said to be a lose-lose situation. It was just that Qian Dao looked even more miserable than him. Dao Shuelan wins. The puppet judge's cold voice rang out. Rumble. Suddenly, a terrifying force bloomed from Dao Shuelan's body. This guy's cultivation had broken through the moment he killed his inner demon. Oh my God, he actually broke through. If this is the case, the heaven list will have to be rearranged. Amazing, he is also a madman. He forcefully lowered his cultivation to fight. It is very dangerous. Fortunately, the result is not bad. He is really scary. After breaking through, Dao Shuelan walked out of the arena and went to rest. Although the injury was not serious, if he entered the final stage and faced a shattered core realm warrior, it would be very dangerous. So he had to be careful. The sixth group situation is really confusing. Dao Shuelan is undoubtedly the strongest. Luo Shui and Qian Dao should be a level higher than the others. Next should be Lu Qi, Ling Xiao, and Shueya. I really hope these experts can meet. The battle will be very exciting. We can feast our eyes. The spectators did not care about what the participants thought. To them, exciting was the only thing they needed. Actually, the probability of meeting them is not small. There are only 24 people in a group. Each person has to fight 10 battles. The probability of meeting them is very high. While Dao Shuelan and Qian Dao were fighting in the sixth group, on the other side, Qi Niming, who Ling Xiao was paying attention to, was also fighting. But this time, Qi Niming's opponent was not as strong, so the battle was relatively easy. He won. Qi Niming was ranked last on the heaven list because he had just broken through to the shattered core realm. The probability of encountering an expert on the heaven list was not small. The seventh battle of the second round of the sixth group. Ling Xiao versus Shueya. At this moment, Ling Xiao heard his name. He did not react. However, the spectators below the arena were already cheering. Ling Xiao had previously defeated Lu Yu, who was ranked 10th on the Earth list. Now, Shueya, who was also ranked 10th on the Earth list, encountered him again. Ling Xiao was really unlucky. Shueya was stronger than Lu Yu because her cultivation had reached the early stage of the extreme core realm. She was definitely not easy to deal with. Chapter 4281. Not only had Shueya reached the early stage of the extreme core realm, but she had also reached the early stage of the extreme core realm. Moreover, the Blood Spirit Church had a special blood demon incarnation, which was even more terrifying than ordinary demonization. Of course, Ling Xiao's previous performance was too outstanding. As a result, people did not think that he would lose to Shueya. Don't think that you can be complacent just because you defeated Lu Yu. I'm not that kind of trash. Shueya looked at Ling Xiao and snorted coldly. I'm not complacent either. Ling Xiao shook his head and said with a bitter smile, defeating a perfect heavenly core warrior is nothing to be proud of. How arrogant. Are heavenly core warriors nothing in your eyes? Shueya said furiously. You can say that. Those who know me should know that I am invincible under the heavenly core realm. Ling Xiao chuckled. It takes courage to say something like that, said Meng Hao. Even so, I'm at the early stage of the ultimate stage of core. Just lose for me. Blood Devil Storm. Shui was the first to attack. The weapon this woman used was rather strange. It was actually a fan. The fan was made of pure metal. The organizers must have worked hard to get their hands on such an unpopular weapon. As she shouted, Shui waved her fan. For a moment, the blood-red light flourished. A blood-red storm was released from her fan, and then it roared and raged towards Ling Xiao. It enveloped the entire arena. Ling Xiao had nowhere to run. To be honest, you'd better demonize. Otherwise, it'll be boring. As he spoke, Ling Xiao flicked the sword in his hand. A beam of sword qi bloomed in the void. It directly cut the storm into two halves. It was like cutting a piece of paper. Shui jumped in fright. She was afraid that Ling Xiao would suddenly pursue her, so she hurriedly retreated a few steps. However, Ling Xiao didn't move at all. He stood there and said indifferently, "Demonize and play with me. Next, I might not be so easy to deal with." Ling Xiao was very clear that once he encountered Luo Shui and Qin Dao, he would have to use the power of the demonic epiphyllum, although it was only a part of his strength. At that time, Shui would not be worth mentioning in front of him. "All right, I'll fulfill your wish. Demonize." Shui chose to demonize, and a blood-red light burst out from her body. The surrounding air was dyed red. Blood Devil Hurricane. Wreak havoc in the world. The moment after the demonization, Shui launched an attack. The storm turned into a hurricane. Although the range of the attack didn't increase, its power had increased by dozens of times. She had been torn apart by Ling Xiao's sword before, but this time she did not believe that Ling Xiao could do it again. But she seemed to have forgotten. She wasn't the only one who knew martial arts. Crimson Blood Sky Drilling Rat, Nine Heavens Ice Dragon, Flying Flaming Lion, Shining Tiger of Holy Light, the fourth stage of the 12 Divine Beasts technique. Erupt, as the long sword in Ling Xiao's hand condensed a terrifying killing intent. For beasts appeared out of thin air. Then the power fused into one. He pounced on his opponent. That destructive power had far surpassed Shui's attack. Boom! The 12 divine beasts' art collided with the Blood Devil Hurricane. The two violent powers were in a stalemate for a moment. The Blood Devil Hurricane was torn apart. Then the terrifying power crashed into Shui like a 10,000-ton ship. Shui was like a fish that was sent flying. She fell to the ground, defeated, a crushing defeat. Crack! Perhaps it was because it had endured too much power, but the weapon in Ling Xiao's hand actually cracked. Although it was a celestial-grade, Heavenly King artifact weapon, the ones provided by the organizer were the worst. They couldn't withstand such a powerful attack at all. Is this really an Earth Core Realm cultivator? How could he unleash such a terrifying attack? The power of this attack is probably close to a high-level 9th Order Emperor, right? That's a height that Shui can't reach. He's indeed a monster. In the crowd, the more the Fire Emperor looked at him, the more he liked him. He had to protect Ling Xiao. Even without the previous bet, he had to protect him. He was a treasure. Ling Xiao's victory might not be a surprise, but the ease with which he won surprised many people, including the first stage of the elimination round. He has already won 12 rounds in a row. Can this record still be maintained? I think it's difficult. Whether it's Luo Shui, Qin Dao, or Dao Shuilan, this record will come to an abrupt end. Instead of watching him win consecutively, it's better to watch Yu Qiren and Ling Jiaojiao win consecutively. Damn it! Shui was lifted up by the blood spirit sect and fed a healing pill. However, although her body was much better now, her spirit had suffered a blow. She had actually lost, and she had lost just like that. "Don't worry, junior sister. I will avenge you," Xingyun said indifferently. "There's no need, senior brother. If you go against him, you'll be bullying him. It's meaningless. He defeated me with a cultivation base lower than mine. I accept my loss wholeheartedly." Shui shook her head. Revenge? She didn't have such thoughts. She just felt that it was a pity to lose like this. However, she had already experienced Ling Xiao's strength. Ling Xiao naturally didn't know that Xue Ye's opinion of him had changed. At this moment, he was paying attention to the match of the woman in green. Although the woman in green worked very hard, her cultivation base was still lacking and she was defeated again. If there were no accidents, the woman in green wouldn't be able to enter the finals. However, this girl seemed to be very happy. She should have achieved her goal. The sixth group's match continued. The next battle was between Luo Shui and another expert. Luo Shui and Qin Dao's cultivation base were on par. Their strength was also on par. Therefore, everyone treated them as cultivators of the same level. The result of the battle was that Luo Shui defeated her opponent with one strike and eliminated her opponent. There was nothing strange about this, because everyone felt that she should win. Her opponent's cultivation base was much lower than hers. However, there were some crazy words that caused Luo Shui to lose his composure. Everyone was saying that perhaps Ling Xiao was qualified to challenge Luo Shui and Qin Dao. Nonsense. Although that Ling Xiao can defeat cultivators at the early stage of the extreme core stage, but against us, he's not worth mentioning at all. Qin Dao said fiercely, "Brother, no matter who meets that Ling Xiao, we have to teach him a lesson. Let him completely fall." Luo Shui gritted her teeth. "That's natural. We definitely can't let this brat be rampant." Qin Dao nodded. The two of them had previously disdained Ling Xiao, but now they were very concerned. In fact, even they didn't realize that they were already very concerned about Ling Xiao. They even had a fear of Ling Xiao. In the following battles, Luo Shui and Qin Dao still won round after round. Ling Xiao's luck was good, and he didn't meet either of them. He also didn't meet Dao Shuilan. Therefore, he still maintained his winning streak. But the more he won, the more Luo Shui and Qin Dao couldn't stand it. It was too unpleasant. Qin Dao had lost a match, but Ling Xiao could win consecutively. This dog's luck was really high. They paid so much attention to Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao didn't have the slightest interest in them. After his battle ended, Ling Xiao would pay attention to the people he cared about. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile version update website. Chapter 4282. The sixth group's matches were extremely intense. The other group's matches weren't easy either. In the first group, Qi Niming defeated Yu Ruo, who was also at the Shattered Core Realm. But Yu Ruo was at the second level of the Shattered Core Realm. This scene caused countless people to cheer. Defeating someone who was at a higher level than you was always exciting. Because he had defeated Yu Ruo, he was now ranked 9th on the heavenly ranking. In the second group, Qi Yaoguang was defeated again, and it was a terrible defeat. Her opponent was none other than Yu Hua from the Qiu family, the number 1 on the Earth ranking. There was nothing they could do. The gap between their cultivation levels was too big. Yu Hua was at the perfect core realm, while Qi Yaoguang was only at the early core realm. After seeing the result of this match, Ling Xiao put Yu Hua on his kill list. In the third group, Heizhu was lucky. She met a perfect heavenly core warrior and won the match. But the situation wasn't looking good for her. Whether she could advance to the next round would depend on her luck. In the fourth group, Yu Kilian's opponent admitted defeat right away. He didn't even have the courage to step onto the stage. In the fifth group, Yu Zhangzong killed his opponent without hesitation. His opponent didn't even have the chance to fight back. This guy, he is definitely a human devil king. Ling Xiao was sure that this cruel Yu Zhangzong had been possessed by a human devil king. Second elimination round, sixth round, fifth match, Ling Xiao versus Qin Dao. Hearing this, the audience suddenly cheered. In the end, Ling Xiao wasn't able to avoid such a powerful warrior. He was only ranked 10th on the Earth ranking. Qin Dao was ranked 7th on the Earth ranking. He was only defeated by Dao Shuilan. For Ling Xiao, this match wasn't easy. But for the audience, they were very excited. They loved watching a super duel like this. A duel between two mighty warriors. Can Ling Xiao win? It'll be difficult. Chen Dao is at the mid-core realm, and Ling Xiao's cultivation is still too low. I think so too. Let's see how many attacks he can take. I reckon Ling Xiao's winning streak will come to an end. Seeing that Chen Dao doesn't seem to like him, I reckon he'll teach him a lesson. Chen Dao impatiently jumped onto the ring, extremely excited. Finally, the opportunity to knock Ling Xiao off his pedestal had arrived. Although it was only temporary, Chen Dao was not used to others praising Ling Xiao so much. Based on what? Wasn't he just a perfect Earth Core Realm warrior? Chen Dao did not change his weapon. It was still the powerful and heavy broadsword. Although he had lost to Dao Shuilan, he did not think that he would lose to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao took out two swords. To others, two swords were two swords, and there would be no change. But to Ling Xiao, having two swords meant that his battle prowess had doubled. Hee, do you think you can defeat me just because you have an extra sword? Chen Dao disdainfully smiled and said, Let me remind you, I'm very unhappy right now. I really want to make an example of you. So if you don't want to get hurt, just surrender. I'm not the kind of person who has to kill his opponent. Domineering as expected of Chen Dao, with a high cultivation, you have guts not putting Ling Xiao in your eyes at all. In the Yu family stands, Yu Qiren sneered, This Ling Xiao has no way out. Usually, he can rely on his two subordinates to be rampant. But in this ring, he can only rely on himself. Either you admit defeat, or you'll lose face, or you might even be killed. Hearing this, Ling Jiaojiao slightly frowned, but did not say anything. She did not want to expose herself now. Moreover, she also believed that her brother could win. Since Yuhua Town, she knew that Ling Xiao was the kind of person who could constantly create miracles. Don't underestimate him too much. Yu Xiangtian no longer dared to underestimate Ling Xiao. This kid had won the alchemy conference, and then set up a ring in the Yu family to defeat Yu Qiong. Every single one of them was beyond his expectations. Therefore, he really had no confidence in Ling Xiao now. He did not know what the upper limit of this kid's strength was. Father, you think too highly of him. Yu Qiren was somewhat unconvinced. His father, Yu Xiangtian, had always been whispering in his ear what a genius Ling Xiao was, and it was a pity that he was not a member of the Yu family. This made him very unhappy. Therefore, he very much hoped that Ling Xiao would lose. On the ring, Ling Xiao played with the two swords in his hands. He looked at Chen Dao with a smile and said, If I were you, I would not lose to Dao Shuilan just now. This was really touching the pot that did not boil. A handful of salt was directly sprinkled on Chen Dao's wound. Chen Dao's face instantly darkened. You're courting death. Chen Dao no longer expected Ling Xiao to admit defeat. Obviously, this kid had a bull's temper. He could only use strength to defeat him and make him kneel. The large blade pointed at Ling Xiao, and a violent blade intent was released, pouncing towards Ling Xiao like a flood. It wanted to completely engulf Ling Xiao. Very interesting aura. However, it's impossible for you to defeat me with just your aura. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, Make your move. Let me see how strong an intermediate stage alchemy realm martial artist is. He had no intention of using the demonic epiphyllum, because it was not necessary for the time being. He would only use it when he absolutely had to, and obviously, Chen Dao was not qualified. From the previous battle between Chen Dao and Dao Shuilan, he could tell that Chen Dao loved to fight big and wide battles. He blindly faced the enemy head-on and emphasized aura and strength to suppress the opponent. There was no technique to speak of. In addition, Chen Dao's attribute seemed to be fire. This made Ling Xiao his nemesis. So in this battle, Ling Xiao felt that not only did he not need to use the power of the demonic epiphyllum, he did not even need to use the power of the sky tyrant martial soul. He could win with technique alone. Heavenly fire 9 slashes. As soon as he attacked, Chen Dao used the blade technique that he had used against Dao Shuilan. But he did not release his martial soul. It was as if he felt that defeating Ling Xiao this way would show his strength. The fiery blade aura that covered the sky instantly reached Ling Xiao's head. To deal with Ling Xiao, Qin Dao gave up all techniques. He used pure strength to suppress him. The first style of the 23 dragon-subduing swords, piercing the dragon's eye. Ling Xiao saw the opportunity and suddenly moved. His figure flashed. The long sword in his right hand used a sword technique, directly hitting the weakest part of Qin Dao's attack. Then his left hand released a ray of dragon-subduing sword aura, heading straight for Qin Dao. Both hands attacked almost at the same time. It still shocked countless people. Bang! The first attack was blocked, and he was almost injured by the sword aura. This made Qin Dao's face even darker. But the second slash of the heavenly fire 9 slashes had already landed. What was even more ferocious was that it was as if an alchemy furnace in the heavenly court had been kicked over. Raging flames were released. It was filled with a terrifying aura. Seeing this scene, many of the participating warriors and spectators sucked in a breath of cold air, because they felt that if it were them, they would definitely not be able to block this attack. They would definitely be defeated by this torrential aura. Chapter 40-83. Dragon subduing 23 swords, second style, destruction dragon horn. But Ling Xiao was calmer than anyone else. The other party's attack power was incomparably powerful. He could not clash head-on, but the Tai Chi eye accurately captured the weakness of the other party's saber technique. He took advantage of the situation and charged out. This sword, the power was also stronger than the first sword. At the same time, another streak of dragon subduing sword chi was released from his left hand. The target was still Qin Dao's vital point. Although this dragon subduing sword chi was unable to cause fatal damage to Qin Dao, it gave Qin Dao a headache. Damn it! How can it be like this? My attack is clearly stronger than his. But each time it was blocked by him and cracked by him. It even made him counterattack. Why? Qin Dao could not understand, because he was not that kind of meticulous person at all. I don't believe it, kill. Heavenly Fire 9 slashes, third blade, continued to fall. Ling Xiao repeated the same trick. It was just that the move was changed. Dragon subduing 23 swords was already used to the third style. Furthermore, it was a double attack. Qin Dao released saber techniques, like crazy. Fourth slash, fifth slash, all the way to the 9th slash. And Ling Xiao's current dragon, subduing 23 swords, also reached the 9th style. 9 consecutive strikes. The power increased nearly 9 times. It actually knocked the weapon in Qin Dao's hand flying out with one sword. In addition, the 9th streak of dragon subduing sword Qi even pierced through Qin Dao's arm. Sigh, you really disappoint me too much. Ling Xiao sighed and said, originally thought that you would bring me a wonderful battle, but unfortunately, your performance was too poor. Your fighting style, it's impossible to even be Yu Qiong's match. Let's end this boring battle. Ling Xiao shook his head lightly. 2 swords attacked together. 10th sword, 11th sword, 21 sword. One sword was stronger than the other. When it reached the 22nd sword, the power was already 22 times of the first style. The Qin Dao without a weapon was crushed very miserably. His body was already full of wounds. Dragon subduing 23 swords final style. Dragon subduing no regrets. Swoosh! Bang! The horrifying long sword pierced through Qin Dao's body, directly sending Qin Dao flying, landing below the stage. I still have to thank you, letting me unleash all 23 swords. Even if you don't want to lose, you will lose. Looking at the fallen Qin Dao, Ling Xiao threw the 2 swords into the weapon rack. Then he turned around and walked down the ring. Everyone was dumbfounded. In fact, even Ling Xiao himself was surprised. He originally thought that he would need to borrow the power of the heavenly demon Dutchman's flower to deal with martial art practitioners in the middle stage of the extreme stage of the Dan realm. Even if he didn't rely on this, he would have to use the power of the giant devil or the tyrant martial spirit. Who would have thought that the heavy blade would actually allow him to display all of the 23 dragon subduing swords? Once the 23 strike combo was unleashed, its final power could even reach 100-fold. A 22 combo was about 22 times. However, once it was fully unleashed, its power would increase exponentially. This was the fearsomeness of a combo martial skill. Therefore, when ordinary martial artists fought, if they discovered that the other party had this kind of move, they would absolutely not allow it to continue. He had to interrupt it. Otherwise, if he was allowed to use it, there would be no end to the situation. *CK. I really didn't expect that Ling Xiao would actually win. And he won so easily? I'm starting to wonder what level his true strength has reached. Perfect Earth Core Realm? It must be fake. No one would believe that Ling Xiao's cultivation level was only at the perfect Earth Core Realm. There had never been a perfect Earth Core Realm martial artist who could defeat a mid-core Realm martial artist. It was too inconceivable. His winning streak is still going on. I suspect that he's still hiding his strength. It must be. I really want to see how many trump cards he has. In the 6th group, I'm afraid that other than Dao Shuilan, no one else can be his opponent. I even suspect that he's really just an Earth ranking expert. Maybe we should put him on the Heaven ranking. In the stands, Lu Yu, who had been paying attention to Ling Xiao, smiled bitterly. As expected, I felt that this guy wasn't simple. I didn't expect him to be so abnormal. He had even defeated a warrior in the middle stage of the extreme stage of Dan. Is there anything he can't do? Moreover, it seems that the power in his body hasn't been released yet. It seems that his winning streak will continue. Luo Shui's expression wasn't good. Chun Dao had lost to Ling Xiao, which meant that it was basically impossible for her to defeat Ling Xiao. Her strength was almost the same as Chun Dao's. They often exchanged pointers, and the chances of winning and losing were almost 50%. It's okay. As long as he doesn't finish using those 23 swords, he can win, Chun Dao said weakly. This time he was sent flying by Ling Xiao, and his injuries weren't light. Brother, rest well. I will avenge you. Luo Shui clenched her teeth. She stared at Ling Xiao. She believed that her battle with Ling Xiao would come sooner or later. In the Yu family stands, Yu Qi Ren's mouth twitched. He was slapped in the face again. He thought that Ling Xiao would lose this time, but the reality was exactly the opposite of what he had expected. Thinking about how he had said that Ling Xiao would be miserable if he didn't admit defeat, it sounded really ironic. Qi Ren, don't worry. No matter how strong he is not your opponent. Yu Xiangtian found that Yu Qi Ren's heart was in a mess, so he reminded him, Father, don't worry. I won't be stubborn. Yu Qi Ren let out a long breath. Yes, it didn't matter if Ling Xiao won or lost to Chun Dao. For him, it didn't have much impact. In any case, Ling Xiao couldn't be his opponent. Your sword skills are very interesting. Unfortunately, your cultivation is too low. Suddenly a voice sounded. Jian Wuqing rose into the air and looked at Ling Xiao on the stage. If you and I are similar in cultivation, I really want to fight to my heart's content with you. There will be a chance. Cultivation is not a problem. Ling Xiao glanced at Jian Wuqing indifferently. Jian Wuqing was ranked 5th on the heaven list, above Dao Shuilan. From this, one could see how strong he was. Jian Wuqing didn't pay much attention to Ling Xiao before this, until Ling Xiao unleashed the 23 dragon subduing swords. The power of the combo had aroused his interest. Interesting. Hearing Ling Xiao's answer, Jian Wuqing was startled. Cultivation is not a problem? What does that mean? Jian Wuqing didn't understand either. The audience was even more confused. But everyone was looking forward to seeing if Ling Xiao would really encounter Jian Wuqing. Perhaps at that time, they would know what Ling Xiao's words meant. However, this incident didn't affect the progress of the competition. The elimination round was still going on in an orderly manner. Soon, the second stage of the elimination round had entered the 7th round. "Thank you for letting me win." Ling Xiao defeated his opponent with a single sword strike and won this round. His opponent this time was really weak. He was only a perfect heavenly core warrior. He didn't need to waste too much energy. Before this, there were even some warriors who chose to surrender and didn't want to fight with him in order to preserve their strength. Looking at it now, it was a wise decision. Genius 1, second, remember the site address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 4284. The elimination round continued, and finally reached the 9th round of the second stage. Second stage, 9th round, third match, Ling Xiao against Luo Shui. Who would have thought that not only did this Ling Xiao encounter the heavy blade, he even encountered Luo Shui. Luo Shui is ranked 6th on the Earth board, slightly higher than the heavy blade. I wonder who will win. I think it will be Luo Shui. Ling Xiao has already exposed his greatest reliance, which is the 23 sword combo. Actually, as long as he can stop the 23 sword combo, then he should be able to win. That's not necessarily true. Who can guarantee that Ling Xiao doesn't have any other trump cards? Don't forget, Ling Xiao hasn't revealed his true strength until now. Everyone discussed spiritedly, each expressing their own opinions. Clearly, they all had their own opinions. No one could convince anyone. Therefore, in this battle, they still had to see the final result. On the stage, Ling Xiao and Luo Shui stood 50 meters apart. In Luo Shui's eyes, there was an intense hatred. She had been waiting for this battle for a long time. It was all for the sake of avenging the heavy blade. She and the heavy blade were lovers. She absolutely could not allow the heavy blade to be bullied by others. Luo Shui was not an expert in weapons. She was more proficient in using secret techniques to attack the enemy. Furthermore, she was proficient in ice secret techniques. As soon as she went on stage, the stage seemed to instantly turn cold, emitting creaking sounds. If one looked carefully, they would discover that a layer of ice had already appeared on the surface of the stage. Different from the heavy blade, Luo Shui did not dare to underestimate her opponent. With the previous example, she was naturally not stupid. In the air, more and more snowflakes filled the air. Luo Shui seemed to have transformed into an ice beauty. Glacier explosion. Following a delicate sound, Luo Shui took the initiative to attack. Her figure slid on the stage. An entire battlefield seemed to belong to her. The berserk ice spike was incomparably huge, directly piercing towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao stared at this attack, his face solemn. He could feel the difference between Luo Shui and the heavy blade. The heavy blade's attacks were wide open. Against a technical type of opponent like him, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. But Luo Shui was different. This woman was extremely skilled. It was not easy for Ling Xiao to catch her weakness. Since that's the case, let's face them head-on. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. With a shake of the sword in his hand, a roaring, flying flame lion pounced forward. They turned into raging flames. Water counters fire, but fire counters ice. Ling Xiao had his reasons for choosing the flying, flaming lion as his opening line. Rumble. Ice shards flew everywhere as the two attacks collided. A large amount of white water vapor was produced. The scene looked extremely exaggerated. However, the difference between Ling Xiao's cultivation and his opponent's was too great. This strike caused him to rapidly retreat, while Luo Shui continued to rush forward. He wanted to completely suppress Ling Xiao. First dragon subduing sword, piercing the dragon's eye. However, what Luo Shui did not expect was that Ling Xiao was actually able to unleash a sword skill even as he was retreating. Moreover, it was the piercing dragon's eye that had been prepared long ago. Seeing this sword, Luo Shui had no choice but to stop his pursuit. Her expression became heavy. Previously, Ling Xiao had used this sword skill to form a combo and finally defeated Qindao. She absolutely could not allow Ling Xiao to have the chance to unleash these 23 sword moves. Falling plumb clear shadow steps. In the process of retreating at high speed, Ling Xiao displayed an exquisite movement technique. His figure suddenly disappeared. Luo Shui frowned. Before going on stage, she did not notice that Ling Xiao was so difficult to deal with. Clearly, the power of her every attack was stronger than Ling Xiao's. But now, she actually had to defend. This made her feel a little unbalanced. However, since Ling Xiao had already launched an attack, she had to be careful. Ice Storm. Since she could not see where Ling Xiao's figure was, she could only use an area of effect attack. Her body was wrapped in a thick layer of wind and snow. Anyone who dared to approach would definitely be attacked. Although the lethality was not enough, as long as the opponent was exposed, it was enough. Crack! A figure charged into the ice storm. Glacier explosion. Luo Shui confirmed Ling Xiao's location. She hurriedly withdrew her ice storm and charged over. There was no other way. If she wanted to maintain her ice storm, then the power of the glacier explosion would become extremely weak. It would definitely not work. Just as Luo Shui was about to attack Ling Xiao's figure, she suddenly felt a terrifying sense of danger. By the time she reacted, it was already too late. A sword directly pierced through her body. Luo Shui grimaced in pain. She hurriedly flashed and fled to the edge of the stage. A clone! She frowned. She did not expect Ling Xiao to have this kind of trick. The speed at which you withdrew your ice storm is too fast. I purposely let you discover my true body. Naturally, you will not suspect me. Then, my doppelganger would attack. Although the attack of the Falling Plum Shadow Clone is only about 90% of my attack, but it is enough to injure you. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Bloodthirsty plague. Releasing the bloodthirsty plague while the opponent was injured would naturally have the best effect. Ling Xiao could feel that Luo Shui was not easy to deal with, although it seemed that he had a slight advantage now. But in fact, it was impossible. If this continued, he would not be able to defeat Luo Shui. 23 dragon, subduing, swords was possible, but the opponent would definitely be on guard. This would be too much of a waste of time. Therefore, the release of the bloodthirsty plague was also the key to reversing the outcome of this battle. Your little tricks are useless against me. Luo Shui's wound quickly healed. Her gaze became more and more serious. Do you think that you are the only one with a clone? Glacier clone. Her cold voice rang out. Clones that looked like ice sculptures stood up from the ground. Although these clones were not very strong, they could seriously interfere with Ling Xiao's attack. This was probably Luo Shui's goal. Too exciting. I don't know what Ling Xiao will do next. I really didn't expect that he would be able to injure Luo Shui first. I thought that he would be the first to be injured. That's right, these two people are very strong. However, Luo Shui's strength is clearly stronger than Ling Xiao's. Ling Xiao's greatest strength was his resourcefulness. In battle, he can always catch the enemy off guard. However, Luo Shui will definitely not let this matter rest. She will definitely think of a way to make Ling Xiao suffer. Before everyone had finished speaking, behind Luo Shui, a huge iceberg had already appeared. Her martial spirit was actually an iceberg. The iceberg martial spirit appeared. The air once again became cold. Many of the spectators below the stage had no choice but to circulate their true essence to keep warm. Otherwise, they would be unbearably cold. Great avalanche of heaven and earth. As Luo Shui's aura became stronger and stronger, the temperature in the air became colder and colder. A crazy mega avalanche was released, and the entire arena was wrapped in it. Because the height of the light wall was limited, therefore it was impossible for Ling Xiao to use the height to avoid this attack. Genius, remember this site's address in a second. Chapter 4285. Luo Shui's move was clearly aimed at him on purpose. Seeing this move, Lu Qi sighed helplessly below the stage. Previously, he had fought with Luo Shui and lost after 30 moves. He actually thought that he could win. Now, it seemed that Luo Shui did not use his true strength when dealing with him. He had hidden his strength. Not to mention anything else, it was impossible for him to block this avalanche. Facing such an attack, the only thing he could do was admit defeat. The audience also wanted to know how Ling Xiao would deal with Luo Shui's overwhelming attack. This woman is indeed terrifying. Looks like I have to use my true strength. Martial Spirit Barrier. Buzz. The martial spirit barrier enveloped the entire arena. For a moment, the martial artists did not know what was happening inside. And at that moment, Ling Xiao released the tyrannical martial spirit. That vast and majestic aura instantly suppressed Luo Shui. However, this was not the most terrifying thing. Take my move, tyrannical great palm. This was the heaven-covering great palm under the tyrannical martial spirit. Its power was basically equivalent to the combo power of the 23 dragon subduing swords. Even Luo Shui and Heavy Saber could not block it. This was the terrifying part of the tyrannical martial spirit. Once released, Ling Xiao's combat strength could already crush an intermediate stage Dan realm martial artist. Luo Shui was no longer his match. The terrifying heaven covering great palm descended from the sky, as if black feathers were pressing down. It was terrifying. Bang! A terrifying loud sound was heard. That huge avalanche was actually smashed into pieces and stopped abruptly. Luo Shui was sent flying and vomited blood. Clearly his injuries were not light. Ling Xiao withdrew the tyrannical martial spirit and martial spirit barrier. He stood there and looked at Luo Shui indifferently. Surrender. There is no deep hatred between us. There is no need to fight to the death. What happened just now? The moment the martial spirit barrier was withdrawn, the avalanche was also shattered. Everyone saw the situation in the arena again. However, this situation made them somewhat stunned. Ling Xiao stood there unscathed, but Luo Shui fell to the ground and vomited blood. What had happened? No one knew. That was why everyone was stunned. Didn't I say so? This Ling Xiao indeed still has a trump card. Otherwise, how could he possibly heavily injure Luo Shui? That's right. How did he repel the avalanche just now? Luo Shui crawled up from the ground. At this moment, she could already feel the effects of the bloodthirsty plague. Her combat strength was greatly weakened. Moreover, this weakening was continuous. Was that your martial soul? Luo Shui's face was extremely pale. She looked at Ling Xiao unwillingly and asked, "That's right." Ling Xiao said indifferently, "So, you didn't lose unjustly. Your man didn't lose unjustly either. Thank you for showing mercy. Otherwise, both my brother and I would have died." Luo Shui laughed bitterly. Fortunately, he and Qin Dao did not put Ling Xiao in their eyes before. Only now did he realize how ignorant he was. This Ling Xiao was too scary. I won't kill people if there's no enmity between us. However, the same cannot be said for the people of the Yu family. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. After the referee announced his victory, he jumped off the stage. The competition continued, but many people had mixed feelings about it. "Father, did you feel it just now? That frightening aura?" Killian frowned. "I felt it. Even though it was separated by the martial soul boundary, I could still feel it. This Ling Xiao really has a secret. Furthermore, it's a secret that we don't know. However, even so, he still can't be your match. You don't have to worry about this." Yu Xiangtian did not know what kind of terrifying energy Ling Xiao had released just now. However, he was certain that even with that energy, Ling Xiao still could not be Killian's match. Furthermore, the difference was huge. His feeling was real. Even if Ling Xiao relied on his tyrannical martial soul, he could only defeat a mid-stage extreme core stage cultivator. Any higher and he would not be able to do it. However, Yu Xiangtian had not guessed one thing. Ling Xiao had learned a new way to use the Sky Demon Dutchman's flower from a Yuan Venerate. With that, let alone Yu Kilian, even Yu Xiangtian and Yu Patian, the two demon kings, would not be able to defeat him. Ling Xiao would also have the strength to fight. I admit defeat. In the last round of the second stage of the sixth group, Ling Xiao's opponent chose to admit defeat. Nonsense! Even Luo Shui and Chen Dao had been defeated by Ling Xiao. Most of the people in this group could only avoid this lunatic. Otherwise, they would definitely lose miserably, as the last match of the sixth group ended. The other groups also ended their matches one after another. The second stage of the elimination round could be said to have ended successfully. What made Ling Xiao happy was that Qi Niming had advanced steadily. Black Pearl and Qi Yaoguang had also advanced by luck. Although he stumbled, he still managed to enter the final 72 people. They could also gain some benefits. As for the woman in green, she had no choice but to be eliminated because her strength was too weak. Yu Luan and Yu Feng of the Yu family had also been eliminated. Very good. All 72 people who have advanced enter the large arena. You will receive the baptism of the 72 demon gods. Everyone will be blessed by the divine power of the sky, demon, ghost realm. If you are lucky, your strength may even break through. If you are unlucky, your combat strength will also increase. In short, this is the glory of the 72 of you. Hearing this, the 72 people who had advanced jumped into the large arena at the same time. This was also the arena where the finals would be held. Not only was it bigger, but its defensive power was also stronger and it was harder to destroy. Listen up. In a while, demonic chi will enter your body and form a demonic shadow. Don't resist it, or you will easily go berserk. Receiving the baptism of the demonic chi will only benefit you. Don't worry. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Xiao felt a black chi enter his body. A demonic shadow appeared behind him. This demonic shadow was about 3 feet long. It looked very small, very cute. It made people feel a kind of funny feeling. But Ling Xiao could feel that this power did bring him great benefits. Not only did it replenish the potential he had consumed, it was also constantly tempering his physical body. In addition to the previous battle, he felt that his physical body was about to break through again. He turned his head to look and found that everyone's demonic shadows were basically 3 feet long. But as the demonic chi was constantly being absorbed, the demonic shadows were also constantly growing bigger and taller. It was just that the demonic chi in the arena seemed to be fixed. If some people absorbed more, others would naturally absorb less. I see. This is the so-called ranking. Whoever's demonic shadow is stronger and bigger will be ranked higher. Ling Xiao finally understood. Since that was the case, then he would not be polite. Buzz! All the cells in his body began to operate. The demonic chi was like a black hole, crazily pouring into his body. Originally, the demonic chi was a great supplement for him. In addition, his Sky Tyrant martial soul could contain all things, so there was no need to consider fusion. He could just absorb it. Please remember the domain name of the book. Read the mobile version of the book. Chapter 40-286. In addition to Ling Xiao, who was like a fish in water, Yu Zhangzong, who had transformed into the human Devil King, was also very happy. This guy simply didn't reject any demonic chi. He was frantically absorbing it. Ha ha ha! Rumor has it that the demonic chi can reach 100 feet. Today, this father will break this record. The human Devil King laughed wildly as he wantonly plundered the demonic chi of the other cultivators. This caused the cultivators around him to suffer unspeakably. Not only did the demonic chi not condense, but it also continued to shrink. Some people's demonic chi even directly exploded. Zhangzong's situation isn't right. Yu Xiangtian's brows furrowed. He was too clear about what kind of person Yu Zhangzong was. But from the beginning of the elimination round until now, Yu Zhongzong had not lost a single match. Instead, he had killed several powerful opponents. So much so that no one dared to fight with him. Even a fool could see that there was something wrong with him. Yes, the demonic qi in his body is very terrifying. I'm afraid it's even stronger than Eccentric and Jiao Jiao. Look, his demonic qi is already 10 feet long, and it's still growing. In the heavenly devil, ghost territory, the final devil shadow transformed into a devil venerable, and the devil venerable incarnation was only 300 meters long. No one has ever surpassed it. I wonder what will happen to him. Yu Dingtian frowned. Then what should we do? Should we stop him? Yu Wentian asked. It's impossible to stop him now. This is the demon sovereign city, if the puppets don't stop him. If we do, we will be the ones provoking him. Forget it. Even if he isn't the real Zhangzong, there's nothing to be afraid of. I have a way. Yu Xiangtian sneered. He was too familiar with the possession technique. In order to make the demon sovereign eternal, his family had studied this possession technique for many years. They had long been proficient in it. It was because they were proficient in it that they had a countermeasure. Look, Eccentric and Jiao Jiao are making their move. At this moment, everyone looked at the stage. Yu Qiren and Ling Jiao Jiao made their move at the same time, madly absorbing the demonic qi. The demonic qi became bigger and bigger. Humph, no matter who you are, I won't admit defeat. I am the strongest genius of the Yu family. Even if someone can make the demonic qi transformation, it must be me. Yu Qiren looked at Yu Zhongzong and said coldly, For my brother, for myself, I absolutely can't lose. The only one who can achieve specter incarnation is me. Ling Jiao Jiao gritted her teeth. She hoped that everything would go smoothly according to the plan and not fight a tough battle in the end. At this moment, the situation in the arena was somewhat special. Yu Zhongzong's devil shadow grew crazily. It had already grown to 200 feet. Yu Qiren and Ling Jiao Jiao's shadows had also grown to about 10 feet tall, but they were still quite a distance away from Yu Zhongzong. Boom! Ling Zhao's aura suddenly became stronger. Under the continuous tempering and strengthening of the demon qi, the strength of his body increased again and reached the mid-ninth order emperor realm. With the strengthening of his physical body, his combat prowess had a qualitative improvement as well. However, his cultivation base remained the same. He was still at the perfect earth core realm. However, he had already accumulated 20% of the energy in his cultivation C. Time's up. The absorption of devil qi lasted for a full hour. This was both absorption and rest. What a pity. It's only 900 feet long. It hasn't reached the level of specter incarnation yet. The moment Yu Zhongzong heard the voice, he discovered that the demonic qi above the arena had disappeared instantly. The devil's shadow behind him was also maintained at a height of 90 feet. He didn't achieve his goal. Damn it, I still can't catch up. Yu Qiren gritted his teeth. The gap was too big. His devil shadow had only grown to 500 feet. I failed. Ling Jiaojiu sighed. Her devil shadow had grown to 600 feet, which was stronger than Yu Qiren's. However, it was still very far away from Yu Zhongzong. On the heaven list, Xingyin, Fire Spirit, Dao Shuelan, Jian Wuqing, Yu Ruo, and Qi Niming's shadows had all grown to 500 feet. Xingyan's shadow was the closest to Yu Qiren's. The others were slightly weaker, but the difference wasn't big. It could be seen that the devil's shadow plunder didn't only depend on strength. Sometimes it also depended on other things. Look over there, specter incarnation. Those on the heaven list naturally paid attention to their opponents on the heaven list. No one looked at the others. At this moment, someone suddenly shouted. Everyone looked in the direction his finger was pointing. 100-foot-tall demon, Venerable, stood in the void. Everyone looked down at the demon, Venerable. He wondered which dark horse was capable of doing this. Ling Xiao. It's actually Ling Xiao, ranked 10th on the Earth list. What 10th? He even defeated Luo Shui, who was ranked 6th. He should at least be ranked 6th on the Earth list. Even so, this is too exaggerated. 100-foot-tall devil's shadow, specter incarnation. This has already reached the highest record. No, that's not specter incarnation. That's specter incarnation. It's definitely more than 100 feet tall. I'm afraid it's at least 200 feet tall. Because it was a visual estimate, many people didn't notice it at first. However, with this reminder, everyone realized it. Ling Xiao's devil shadow had already set a new record. Moreover, it wasn't a demon venerable incarnation behind him, but a demon emperor incarnation. How is this possible? Even the current demon emperor can't do this. What the hell? What kind of monster is this kid? He couldn't have been possessed, right? Probably not. This devil shadow plunder doesn't depend on strength, but talent. Even if he was possessed by a demon emperor, it's impossible to reach this point. It can only mean that his talent is much stronger than others. Moreover, there's a time limit. If there's no time limit, I'm afraid he'll devour all the devil chi on the stage. Such terrifying talent. Why isn't he a cultivator of our Yu family? Yu Xiangtian's heart was trembling. Although he already knew about Ling Xiao's extraordinary talent, the scene before him still shocked him greatly. Ha ha ha, this kid is too awesome. Fortunately, he was taken in by our Golden Sky region. Otherwise, I would be jealous to death. The Flame Emperor, on the other hand, was laughing heartily. Every time he saw Ling Xiao, he would feel incomparably fortunate. Humph! So what if you're a specter incarnation? This demon king will kill you later. No matter how talented you are, it's useless. Having Ling Xiao steal the limelight, the human demon king didn't feel good in his heart. However, he couldn't do anything now. However, there were plenty of opportunities. They would meet in the final sooner or later, unless Ling Xiao was eliminated early. Ling Xiao must die. Yu Qiren's eyes flashed with a cold light. Although he knew that killing Ling Xiao might have a great impact on the Yu family. Since Ling Xiao wanted to participate in the Demon Venerable's successor selection battle, there was nothing to say if he died. Even the Golden Sky region wouldn't dare to openly fight with the heavenly demon ghost beasts. Little brother, you're always the most dazzling one. If it weren't for you this time, I'm afraid I would have become a husk. For you, I can do anything. Ling Jiao just glanced at Ling Xiao, then withdrew her gaze and made up her mind. Chapter 4287. The demonic chi that you just plundered was only the basic demonic chi. In the following finals, as long as you win once, you can get a part of the other party's demonic chi. So, accumulation. The demonic chi can still become stronger, so don't be discouraged. At this moment, the puppet host's voice sounded. These words made many people look at Ling Xiao with a different gaze. Before, it was jealousy, and now it was greed. Ling Xiao was like a huge treasure trove of demonic chi. As long as you defeat him, you can get a large amount of demonic chi. I'm afraid everyone will go all out. At this moment, the atmosphere suddenly became tense. It was not only directed at Ling Xiao, it was directed at everyone. In the elimination round, it didn't matter even if you lost 1 or 2 rounds. But the ranking round was different. If you lose, your ranking will drop and your demonic chi will be sucked away by others. Only the final form of devil chi could be converted into strength. So, no one was willing to be robbed. It was rumored that demonic chi could not only improve cultivation, but also improve a person's cultivation aptitude, especially the aptitude of a demonic cultivator. This was of course rare and precious for those martial artists who were not very talented but had relatively strong strength. What they got was not only demonic chi, but also aptitude. In the solemn atmosphere, the referee began to announce the rules of the ranking round. All the matches were carried out in the big arena. The ranking round had a total of 72 rounds. Everyone had to go through 71 matches. 1 match in each round. Everyone would encounter one of the other 70 people. It was only a matter of time. The final ranking naturally depended on the number of wins. Whoever had the most wins would be the final champion, and the one with the most wins would naturally be the strongest demonic shadow, although the basic demonic shadow would give you a certain advantage. But this was only temporary. Like Ling Xiao, losing a match would cost him nearly half of his demonic qi. In addition, the ranking round would remove the restrictions on weapons, talismans, and puppets. It could allow martial artists to maximize their advantages. After all, some martial artists were best at weapons. If you don't let them use their own weapons, it would be disadvantageous to them. And some martial artists were proficient in talismans and puppets. If you don't let them use them, how could he win? It was right not to use it in the knockout round. If you couldn't even pass the knockout round with your strength, you wouldn't be able to do so. If he still had to rely on talismans and puppets, then he might as well go somewhere else. The ranking competition is indeed more exciting. I didn't get to see the conversation between the strong. Now I'm going to see it. This feeling is really great. Do you think Killian will fight Ling Jiao? There should be, but I think it will only appear towards the end. Why? You didn't read the rules carefully, did you? In order to prevent strong opponents from meeting too early, the rules set up the existence of seeded players. I'm guessing they're the 10 people on the Heaven leaderboard. There really is such a rule. That's reasonable. However, the final result surprised these people. Although there were indeed 10 seeded contestants, they were not purely on the Heaven leaderboard. Everyone else on the Heaven leaderboard was on the list. Only Yurua was missing and Ling Xiao was added. Ling Xiao, what does he have? Just because he is at the perfect Earth core realm? Naturally, Yurua was not convinced. He was ranked last on the Heaven leaderboard. He was not convinced by anyone else but Ling Xiao. Just because he can transform into a demon emperor, he is qualified. The puppet judge only said one sentence, and Yurua's temper disappeared. Humph. Even if I'm not a seeded player, I'll let you know how powerful I am. Ling Xiao, you're the one who humiliated me, and humiliated our Yu family. You better not let me meet you. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer. Yurua poured all his dissatisfaction onto Ling Xiao. He thought that Ling Xiao had humiliated him. All right, the seeded contestants have been chosen. The ranking competition begins, following the judge's order. 2 cultivators of the ultimate core realm jumped onto the stage. It was a bit funny. Among the 72 people, Ling Xiao was the only one below the ultimate realm of Dan, and he was a seeded contestant. It could be said that he was the weakest seeded contestant in history, but the audience didn't protest. It was because Ling Xiao's Demon Emperor transformation was too shocking. It didn't seem to be a problem to give him the qualification of a seeded contestant. The first match soon began. Both of them were martial artists at the early stage of the extreme realm of Dan. They were evenly matched. After 100 rounds of battle, one of them won with his experience. After winning, the Demon Emperor transformation behind the winner actually opened his mouth and sucked in a lot of the Demon Emperor transformation behind the loser. Ling Xiao observed that the Demon Emperor transformation would shrink by half with each loss. The Demon Emperor transformation, which was originally 3 feet long, suddenly became 1.5 feet long, and the other person's Demon Emperor transformation was obviously 1 size bigger. It was more than 4 feet long. Interesting. Although Ling Xiao had already guessed this before, guesses were just guesses. It was still very interesting to see this with his own eyes. After that, such scenes continued to happen. Then it was Black Pearl's turn. With Black Fire's advantage, Black Pearl won with difficulty. The Demon Emperor transformation behind him also grew to about 4 feet long. And during these battles, Ling Xiao discovered something interesting. When the disparity in strength was too great, even if one won, the demonic qi gained would be very little, and if one defeated an opponent of a higher level, they would gain a lot of demonic qi. Not only could it absorb the opponent's demonic qi, but it also seemed to be able to replenish it from the arena. This point was confirmed in the following battle. Yu Qiren's opponent chose to admit defeat. Although he had absorbed his opponent's demonic qi, The difference in strength was too great. So, Yu Qiren's Demon Emperor transformation remained at 500 feet. 22nd match. Ling Xiao versus Lu Yan. Lu Yan, ranked 5th on the Earth leaderboard, was a cultivator of the Emerald Sect. He was in the ultimate core realm. Whether in terms of cultivation or fame, he was stronger than Ling Xiao. But now, the Demon Emperor transformation behind him was only 6 feet long. So when he heard that his opponent was Ling Xiao, he was so happy that he almost jumped up. His luck was quite good to meet Ling Xiao. He could eat to his heart's content. An ultimate core realm cultivator is too strong. I can't win even if I rely on the sky tyrant martial soul. But I still have the giant demons. Ling Xiao's 10 giant demons had been constantly improving as he defeated the Yu family's cultivators. In addition to the demonic pills he had accumulated previously, the strongest giant devil was already at the peak of the extreme realm of core. The other 9 giant demons had also been eliminated. Only 4 of them were left, but their strength had all advanced to the ultimate core realm. Disciple, absorb more demonic chi. This demonic chi can directly increase the strength of the giant demons. Who knows? You might soon have a core fragmentation realm giant demon. Yuan Venerate said excitedly. Chapter 4288. Understood. Ling Xiao took a deep breath. Actually, he just needed to maintain his demonic shadow at about 200 feet. This would definitely fulfill the expectations of a Yuan Venerate. However, this wasn't going to be easy. His opponents weren't that weak. Every opponent he encountered next was very strong. Fortunately, he could use the giant demon to fight, which would make things easier for him. Standing in the arena, Lu Yan looked coldly at Ling Xiao. Since you have a good relationship with my junior sister, surrender. Surrender, you're no match for me. I think you should surrender. Ling Xiao looked at Lu Yan. In terms of pure strength, he was indeed inferior to Lu Yan. However, martialists looked at overall combat strength. He had the giant demon as his trump card, so an extreme core realm martialist wasn't a threat to him at all. Lu Yan froze for a moment before smiling. Forget it. If you don't want to surrender, then let's fight. However, don't blame me if I hurt you later. Go ahead. Ling Xiao said. All right. Lu Yan suddenly raised the staff in his hand, and a ball of jade-green flames shot through the air. It actually transformed into a green firewolf in midair. Its speed and power were rather domineering. Even a martialist of the same cultivation base would fall in the face of this attack. Falling Plum Clear Shadow Step. Ling Xiao used the Falling Plum Clear Shadow Step in an attempt to avoid it. I knew you would do this. Fire Wolf Pack. Lu Yan had watched Ling Xiao's battles more than once. He had a good understanding of Ling Xiao's strength. He knew that Ling Xiao's movement technique was very strong, so he had been prepared for this. The giant jade-green firewolf suddenly dispersed and transformed into dozens of small wolves. Ling Xiao couldn't dodge in time and was hit directly. His entire body was covered in wounds from head to toe. Fortunately, he had used the special skill of the divine diamond ape at the crucial moment, fire and water immunity. Otherwise, he would have been killed in one blow. Sigh. The difference is really too big. Ling Xiao sighed. He didn't use the power of the giant demon in the beginning because he wanted to see how far he could go against a warrior in the late stage of the extreme realm of Dan. Now it was clear. Without using the tyrant martial spirit, even the Falling Plum Clear Shadow Steps could not help him. As long as they were hit, they were basically done for. I've said it before. The difference in cultivation is too great. You should just admit defeat. Lu Yan's attitude wasn't bad. It was probably because of the woman in green. Yeah, the gap is too big. It's time for this battle to end. Ling Xiao smiled. Suddenly, a black vortex appeared beside him. A figure charged out from the vortex. In just an instant, Lu Yan was pinned to the ground. Lu Yan wanted to move, but he couldn't. When people saw it clearly, they realized that it was a giant demon. Heavens, it's a giant demon. A giant demon that's even more terrifying than green flame. Isn't that against the rules? It shouldn't be against the rules, right? Otherwise, those who use puppets to fight would be breaking the rules. Yeah, battle pets are allowed to exist. Stop discussing. If it's really against the rules, the referee will say something. Obviously, they didn't say anything. Therefore, Ling Xiao won this battle. I just feel that Ling Xiao's victory is a bit dishonorable. It's not like he used his own strength. You're joking. What do you mean by using his own strength? If you have the ability, don't use martial skills or weapons. Use your body to fight. I want to see who can be Ling Xiao's opponent. That's true. Giant demon, throw him off the stage. Don't hurt him. Ling Xiao gave the order. The giant demon casually threw Lu Yan off the stage. Ling Xiao wins. Damn it! I didn't expect this kid to have raised a giant demon to this extent. Completion of the extreme stage of Dan? In other words, unless he meets a core-shattering realm martial artist, no one can be his opponent. But this is also good. This Demon King will kill you to vent my hatred. The human Demon King clenched his teeth. He was looking forward to the battle with Ling Xiao. After Ling Xiao's battle ended, the human Demon King came on stage. His opponent was none other than Lu Qi. Facing the human Demon King Yu Zhangzong, Lu Qi's choice was relatively unyielding. He didn't admit defeat, but he lost miserably. He had almost lost his life. In the end, only his inner core escaped. The human Demon King was too strong. Just a glance was enough to make Lu Qi lose his will to fight. It's a pity for this Lu Qi. He was directly eliminated. Ling Xiao shook his head, but this kind of situation would happen often, especially when encountering a monster like the human Demon King, who had the deepest hatred for humans. He definitely wouldn't show mercy. But Lu Qi's demonic shadow was small, so it was meaningless for the human Demon King to defeat him. The demonic shadow behind him was still 900 meters tall. The competition was so exciting. However, with Lu Qi's example, he had learned his lesson. The martial artists who encountered the seeded contestants all chose to admit defeat. Since they couldn't win, there was no need to waste energy. If things went wrong, they might even lose their lives. That wouldn't be worth it. 26th match, Black Pearl against Heavy Blade. Heavy Blade was originally ranked 7th on the Earth leaderboard, but after being defeated by Ling Xiao, he was a bit lonely. But still, no one dared to look down on his strength. In this battle, Black Pearl fought steadily and fought with Heavy Blade for 100 rounds. Unexpectedly, they were evenly matched. In the end, Black Pearl won with a talisman from the Blackfire sect. She was basking in the glory of this sect. Although the Blackfire sect was destroyed by the Yu family, most of the treasures still fell into Black Pearl's hands. Heavy Blade wasn't weak, he just lost to his family background. After devouring half of Heavy Blade's demonic energy, Black Pearl's demonic shadow grew to 6 feet long. Of course, compared to the monsters on the Heaven leaderboard, it was still far from enough. But Black Pearl's mentality was better. She came this time to prove to the world that the Blackfire sect wasn't destroyed. The Yu family couldn't rest easy. As for how far they could go, it would depend on luck. Heavy Blade, this trash. If I meet this woman, I'll definitely kill her. The one who spoke was the second on the Earth leaderboard, Yuluo, who was at the peak of the extreme core realm. As a member of the Yu family, he naturally couldn't bear to see the Blackfire sect's cultivators behave so atrociously. If you kill her, Ling Xiao will definitely kill you. Qi Niming's voice sounded, cold with a bit of killing intent. Ling Xiao? He's only relying on that ultimate stage of core realm ogre puppet. As long as I attack his body, he won't be able to do anything. Yuluo said disdainfully, Is that so? Then I really want to see it. Qi Niming smiled. He knew best what was terrifying about Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao came to the Fengdu Devil Kingdom and immediately obtained the demonic Sirius. It was all for the sake of saving his sister. Many people seem to have overlooked this point. The demonic Sirius was the true killing weapon. The first round ended quickly. The second round began quickly. This continued until the sixth round. Ling Xiao's demonic shadow still didn't change much. If one looked closely, it seemed to have grown a bit. Please remember the domain name of this book. Come and read the mobile version. Chapter 40, 289. Many people treated Ling Xiao as an experience bag, but after 5 rounds, he still hadn't lost a single match. A perfected Earth Core Realm Warrior. To be able to remain undefeated among the Extreme Core Realm Warriors. This was really too strong. In these 6 rounds, Lu Qi was also worth mentioning. Everyone thought that his body had been destroyed by Yu Zhangzong, and he was basically out of today's battle. But no one expected that. He actually used a puppet to create a temporary body. Not only did his strength not decrease, but it also increased. In the 6th round, Ling Xiao met his old opponent, Shuya. Shuya directly admitted defeat. In the elimination round, she lost to Ling Xiao, so she naturally had no intention of fighting again. It was better to preserve her battle strength and face other challenges. After 6 rounds, Ling Xiao won all 6 matches. This was of course because he was chosen as a seeded contestant. He avoided most of the core-shattering realm experts, but it was also because his giant demon was too powerful. Qi Yaoguang was more miserable. Out of 6 matches, she won 2 and lost 4. Black Pearl was slightly better than her. Out of 6 matches, she won 3 and lost 3. As for Qi Niming, he was also a seeded contestant, so he also maintained a perfect record. He didn't lose a single match. In the 7th round, there were no surprises. Ling Xiao's opponent still directly surrendered. In the 8th round, Ling Xiao met his old opponent, Luo Shui. This time, Luo Shui still had no intention of surrendering. However, Ling Xiao wasn't interested in wasting time with her. He directly used his giant demon and slapped Luo Shui out of the arena. The competition continued. There were no surprises in the 9th and 10th rounds. In the 11th round, the main point came. Qi Niming met Yu Ruo again. Yu Ruo was the only core-shattering realm expert who wasn't chosen as a seeded contestant. He was at the 2nd level of the core-shattering realm. Qi Niming was at the 1st level of the core-shattering realm. Yu Ruo had been unwilling to lose to Qi Niming before. This time, he naturally had no reason to admit defeat. "I don't believe that I can't win against you." Yu Ruo said this for a reason. In the elimination round, he couldn't use the weapons and talismans he was good at. He lost to Qi Niming. That was called bad luck. However, the ranking competition was different. The rules had changed, and to him, it was definitely a good thing. No need to talk nonsense, just attack. If I can defeat you once, I can defeat you twice. Qi Niming said lightly. All right, then I'll go. Yu Ruo snorted coldly and directly tore through the air. A pair of strange weapons appeared in his hands. They looked like the claws of a tiger. There was a yin line behind the claw that could be released or retracted. The tiger claw struck out. Demonic qi shrouded the area, and it was actually somewhat eerie and terrifying. Bolts of black lightning were leaping about. It was the black lightning heart gouging claw that this fellow was most proficient in. Break! Facing Yu Ruo's attack, Qi Niming had no intention of dodging. He thrust out the sword in his hand, and the roaring sword light actually sent the tiger claw flying. Yu Ruo was so scared that she hurriedly retreated. 9 Heavens Imperial Wind Technique. Ling Xiao had once used this technique against Tu Hu. He didn't expect to see it on Yu Ruo. Yu Ruo's cultivation was much higher than Tu Hu's, and the speed of using the 9 Heavens Imperial Wind Technique was also extremely fast. He was more threatening than Tu Hu, like a ghostly wind. As soon as he used it, his figure had already appeared in front of Qi Niming. The terrifying tiger claw struck down again and again. Qi Niming calmly faced the enemy. The long sword in his hand constantly waved. He continuously blocked Yu Ruo's attacks, and it seemed that he was at a disadvantage. However, Ling Xiao understood that Qi Niming was looking for an opportunity. He was looking for an opportunity to decide the winner with one blow. It's time to end it. Ling Xiao shook his head. The first burst of energy, the second decline, and the third exhaustion. Yu Ruo's continuous attacks didn't achieve the desired effect, and his aura was also chaotic. Just at the moment when he stopped attacking, Qi Niming suddenly counterattacked. A sword pierced through Yu Ruo's throat. Yu Ruo was startled, and his figure retreated quickly, landing below the arena. He knew how much hatred there was between the Qi family and the Yu family. If he didn't escape, Qi Niming would really kill him. This wasn't a joke. Qi Niming, he's not even 50 years old. If the Qi family was still here, his future achievements would probably be even higher. Yes, a rare genius. Although his cultivation isn't as good as Yu Ruo's, he can calmly face the enemy and finally defeat the opponent with one sword. He didn't let hatred get to his head. While everyone was talking, Qi Niming directly swallowed half of Yu Ruo's demonic shadow. Because it was a cross-level challenge, Qi Niming gained a lot. The demonic shadow that had already reached 100 feet had now increased to about 200 feet, because many martial artists chose to surrender in the battle. So the battle progressed very quickly. When it was the 20th round, it was only afternoon. Ling Xiao fought 19 times and won 19 times. If he added the elimination round, it was equivalent to 39 consecutive wins. However, because his demonic shadow was strong enough, there was still no change. Qi Niming maintained a winning streak like him. Black Pearl fought 19 times and won 10 times. This was actually quite good. Qi Yaoguang also caught up. He won 11 out of 19 battles. The main reason was that he was lucky. The opponents he met weren't too strong, but this kind of luck couldn't last long. If the martial artists he met at the beginning were weak, then the opponents he met later would definitely be very strong. The following matches were a bit uneventful. 20 rounds, 21 rounds, all the way until the 40th round. Although there were exciting battles, Ling Xiao didn't pay much attention to them. In the 41st round, Black Pearl encountered trouble. Her opponent was Yu Luo. Logically speaking, it was best to choose to surrender at this time. But the Blackfire sect was destroyed, and so many of Black Pearl's family members were killed by the Yu family. She couldn't surrender in front of the Yu family's martial artists. The result was obvious. Yu Luo was an expert at the peak of the Dan realm. Black Pearl had just broken through to the middle stage of the Dan realm. In the 30th round, Black Pearl was already very miserable. She was covered in injuries, and even her consciousness was blurry. Yu Luo clearly wanted to kill her. He didn't give her a chance to get off the stage. In the end, Ling Xiao interfered with the match. He used the demonic eye to force Black Pearl off the stage. Luckily, a divine core warrior had a strong life force. Although Black Pearl was badly injured, with Ling Xiao, a powerful alchemist, helping her, it wasn't a big deal. With a healing pill and the immemorial nature dragon's treatment, Black Pearl quickly woke up. I'm useless. My enemy is right in front of me, but I can't kill him. It's that Yu Luo. He's the one who cruelly killed my little brother, my 10-year-old little brother. Black Pearl cried sadly. She had tried her best, but she couldn't get her revenge. Reality was cruel. Genius 1, second, remember the site address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 4290. Don't force yourself. I'll take revenge for you. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed coldly as he glanced at Yu Luo. He didn't even need to use the power of the demonic epiphyllum. He could defeat Yu Luo easily. He dared to hurt Black Pearl. He must be tired of living. Yu Luo saw Ling Xiao's gaze and showed him disdain. He raised his middle finger and said, "If you go up, the result will be the same. It's a mistake that I didn't kill that woman this time. But when it's your turn, I won't show mercy." Ling Xiao suddenly laughed. The people of the Yu family hadn't learned their lesson yet. Since that was the case, he would teach them a lesson. You'll be unlucky. Chi Niming looked at Yuluo and said indifferently, That kid will be the unlucky one. Yuluo didn't care. The 41st round ended and the 42nd round began. Ling Xiao's opponent was Lu Qi. You don't have to surrender. I won't use the demonic epiphyllum to fight with you. Ling Xiao saw that Lu Qi wanted to surrender and stopped him. Use your strongest attack, Yu Zichen said. Ling Xiao didn't forget his goal of improving his basic strength, although the demonic epiphyllum and the demonic epiphyllum were very powerful. But that wasn't a long-term plan. If he wanted to be strong enough to make others fear him, then the best way was to make himself stronger. Lu Qi's strength was good and would be helpful to his strength improvement. Okay, then take this. Without hesitation, Lu Qi launched an attack. After changing his body into a puppet body, Lu Qi's fighting style also changed. His attacks contained the power of lightning, rushing thunder fist. It was combined with the power of the puppet body. This punch was definitely stronger than Lu Qi's in the elimination round. The power is not bad, but the puppet body made him lose some flexibility. Ling Xiao opened his Tai Chi eye and learned some of Lu Qi's strengths. Then he was ready to end this battle. Heaven-covering palm. A single palm strike landed on the vital part of the puppet's body. He didn't fight Lu Qi head-on. Instead, he directly dodged Lu Qi's attack. He blasted Lu Qi out of the arena. One move, insta-kill. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation didn't break through, his physical body did. Therefore, whether it was speed or agility, he was much stronger than before. He was confident that he could kill a powerhouse of the initial stage of the undefeatable realm. I lost. Lu Qi fell to the ground and smiled bitterly. He was thoroughly convinced of his defeat in this battle. He originally thought that Ling Xiao was just relying on the troll to show off. But now he understood that even without the troll, Ling Xiao was definitely not easy to deal with. The match did not stop. He didn't even rest. It went from day to night, and it was still going on. When a Divine Core warrior reached the Divine Core realm, it wouldn't be a problem for him to not rest for more than 10 days. Therefore, there was no such thing as rest in this selection battle. In the 59th round, Ling Xiao finally met Yuluo. Yuluo impatiently stepped onto the stage and challenged Ling Xiao. Brat, hurry up and die. Ling Xiao gently patted Black Pearl's shoulder and said, Watch how I kill him. He flew into the air and stepped onto the stage. The first thing Ling Xiao did was to summon the troll. He had no choice. He had to do this when facing a powerful opponent like Yuluo. Yuluo had reached the perfect stage of the core realm. With just his basic combat strength, there was no way he could win. Even if he used the martial soul of Tyrant, the result would be the same. Hee, I knew this was all you got. Yuluo laughed proudly. He casually crushed a talisman. Then, a terrifying giant puppet beast appeared in front of him. Its entire body was made of metal. It was extremely ferocious. You gave that platinum bull to Yuluo? Yu Xiangtian looked at Yu Qiren and asked, That's right, that thing was used by my son in the past. Since I don't need it anymore, I can give it to Yuluo. Yu Qiren said with a smile. He wanted Ling Xiao dead. As long as Ling Xiao didn't die, the Yu family would continue to lose face. It wasn't easy for him to wait for such an opportunity. How could he not use it? Ling Xiao is in trouble now. That's right, he was able to defeat a late-stage core realm cultivator by relying on that terrifying troll. Now that he's met Yuluo, who also has a puppet, I'm afraid he's going to lose. I think he's not just going to lose, he's going to die. Many of the audience didn't think Ling Xiao would win, but this was normal. Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the perfect stage of the Earth core realm. It was a miracle that he could last until now. It would be pointless if he kept going. He might as well just admit defeat, like a bachelor. He could avoid death. The Black Pearl watched this scene nervously. She believed that Yuluo had just obtained this golden-white bull puppet. He definitely didn't have it when he fought her. Ling Xiao gave her a reassuring look. Then he looked at Yu Luo and said, "One sword." "What do you mean?" Yu Luo was stunned for a moment, not understanding what Ling Xiao meant. In the end, they saw Ling Xiao abandon the troll and disappear from everyone's sight in an instant. Hell's shadow strike! A cold voice came from the darkness. Then, everyone saw Yu Luo's corpse on the tip of the sword. The East Victory, heavenly sword emitted a blood-red light. Blood dripped onto the ground. Roar! The golden-white bull roared angrily and pounced at Ling Xiao, trying to save Yu Luo. But Ling Xiao casually struck out with his palm. The golden-white bull shattered. It was completely destroyed. Impossible! How could this be? Yu Qilian stood up in shock. Many of the Yu family members also stood up. They couldn't understand the situation at all. Of course, they didn't know that Ling Xiao had finally swallowed the fruit of the demonic epiphyllum and temporarily raised his cultivation to the perfect stage of the extreme stage. One had to know, when he was at the perfect stage of the Earth Core realm, he could easily kill a martial artist at the early stage of the extreme stage. When his cultivation reached the perfect stage of the extreme stage, then martial artists of the same cultivation level were not worth mentioning in front of him. Even without transforming, he could easily kill them. Perfect stage of the extreme stage. How could this be? Yu Xiangtian was also stunned. Even Forefather Scarlet Flame and Azure Lotus Sword Lady were dumbfounded. Fire King was also dumbfounded. No one had expected such a dramatic change. Could it be that he ate the demonic epiphyllum? That's not right. The power of the demonic epiphyllum is definitely more than that. And according to the rumors, after swallowing the demonic epiphyllum, there will be a phenomenon. There is no such thing. Yu Xiangtian thought of the demonic epiphyllum, but he quickly rejected it. Then what's going on? Could it be that he has been hiding his strength? Yu Qilian thought in a daze. Spare me, spare me. Yu Luo was lifted into the air by the sword, and the pain was as if he was being cut into pieces. He began to beg for mercy and fear. I've said it before, you deserve to die. Boom! A terrifying sword qi erupted from the heavenly sword of Dongsheng. In that instant, Yu Luo's body was torn into pieces, completely dead. In this way, the 72 people became 71 people. Genius 1, second, remember the site address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 4291. Yu Luo was killed. A few people would probably win without a fight, but Ling Xiao didn't care about this. Since he had already used the power of the heavenly demon Dutchman's flower, then he wouldn't stop. This shock lasted until the 62nd round. As a seeded player, Ling Xiao. Next, he would face all martial artists of the Shattered Core realm, 10 experts on the heaven roll, and the competition entered the last 10 rounds. Next would be exciting. The experts on the heaven roll would also encounter and fight. Every battle would probably be incomparably exciting. 62nd round. First round, Ling Xiao against Yu Luo. With the announcement of the referee, the audience immediately cheered. Would Ling Xiao, this dark horse, be able to continue? Whether his winning streak could continue or not. Yu Luo was definitely the best alchemy stone. In this battle, Ling Xiao encountered the most powerful opponent. Yu Luo's cultivation was at the 2nd level of the Shattered Core realm, but his combat power was obviously not very good. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lost to Qi Niming. I want to avenge the dead martial artists of our Yu family. This was Yu Luo's first sentence after going on stage. Up to you. Ling Xiao just glanced at Yu Luo indifferently. He now had the power of the heavenly demon Dutchman's flower, and his cultivation had temporarily reached the perfection of the extreme core realm. Defeating a 2nd level of the Shattered Core realm martial artist shouldn't be too difficult. Even if he faced a 5th level of the Shattered Core realm martial artist, he still had the power to fight. He didn't continue to devour the heavenly demon Dutchman's flower. His current strength was enough for the time being, and it was beneficial for the improvement of his basic strength. You're really arrogant. Even if you're a martial artist of the extreme core realm, You can't look down on my existence like this. Yu Ruo roared angrily and directly charged out. Ling Xiao didn't dodge. Instead, he similarly charged out. 23 dragons, subduing swords. One sword after another stabbed out. Yu Ruo wanted to stop him, but he found that he couldn't. Each of Ling Xiao's sword was powerful and heavy, and actually made him have a terrifying feeling that it was impossible to block. 23 dragon-subduing swords, dragon-subduing without regrets. 23 golden dragons broke through the air and directly blasted Yu Ruo onto the stage. Yu Ruo was still very strong. When one's cultivation reached the core fragmentation realm, the power of the inner core would be transferred to the body. As a result, his physical body became even more terrifying. To create the conditions for entering the divine body realm, Yu Ruo was able to survive because of this. What a domineering sword technique. Ling Xiao is indeed Ling Xiao. He's at the consummate level of the ultimate core realm, and he's been suppressing those at the second tier of the shattered core realm. This is too awesome. Maybe he'll be the dark horse at the end of the race. The audience also became extremely excited. As a result, he didn't really watch the other matches in the 60-second round. After the 60-second round, it was time for the true seeded contestants to face off. From the 63rd round to the final round, this was absolutely exciting. I'm really starting to admire this puppet judge now. 10 seeded contestants, all of them won. Ling Xiao, who they thought was the most incomprehensible, actually gave them the biggest surprise. He actually defeated Yu Ruo, who's at the second tier of the shattered core realm. Yeah, don't underestimate them just because they're puppets. They're very powerful. Yu Ruo is so pitiful. It's fine if he lost to the other seeded contestants, but he actually lost to Ling Xiao. You can't say that. Who would have thought that Ling Xiao's cultivation is so strong, and he actually used the giant demon to fish in troubled waters? Isn't this guy pretending to be weak? Amidst the heated discussion, the 63rd round also began. The first round wasn't a battle between seeded contestants. However, the battle was still quite exciting. The second round wasn't a battle between seeded contestants, but a battle between Qi Yaoguang and Black Pearl. Both of them chose to forfeit. They weren't here to fight for anything, but to deal with the Yu family. Therefore, there was no need for them to fight among themselves. In the third round, the audience cheered, because this time it was finally a battle between seeded contestants. The contestants were Fire Spirit and Qi Niming. In the previous battles, Fire Spirit basically defeated his opponent with one move, or his opponent admitted defeat. There was no doubt about his strength, but he didn't have many opportunities to show it. Qi Niming, on the other hand, defeated Yu Ruo, who was stronger than him. He definitely had some strength. The battle between the two was definitely exciting to the audience. Even Ling Xiao wanted to know what special methods Fire Spirit had. What was Qi Niming's limit? Please, Qi Niming had no grudges with Fire Spirit, so his attitude was quite good. Please, Fire Spirit also cupped his hands and said, "But I'm afraid you won't be able to win this battle." Naturally, he had his own reasons for saying this. On the heaven list, Qi Niming was ranked 9th, and Fire Spirit was ranked 8th. It made sense for him to be so confident. However, Fire Spirit obviously didn't think this ranking was reasonable. In his eyes, his ranking should be higher. At least, he shouldn't be worse than Jian Wuqing and Dao Shuilan. Therefore, defeating Qi Niming was only the first step. Without fighting, no one knows the result. Qi Niming took out his weapon. This sword had been with him for many years. It was like a friend to him. Whenever he was in trouble, it would help him cut open the cage. Ling Xiao has the dragon subduing 23 swords, but I also have the bloodthirsty demon sword. A total of 18 swords. You better not give me a chance, or you'll lose. The reason why Qi Niming revealed all of his secrets was because he had a plan. People like Fire Spirit were more arrogant. The more you said your move was strong, the more he wanted to try it. Naturally, he wouldn't interrupt you. This was the only way Qi Niming could win. Actually, Qi Niming knew that he was only at the first level of the core-shattering realm. This level of cultivation was considered top-notch among those under the age of 50. Even Ghost Sword was at this level. However, Fire Spirit was more than 90 years old, so his cultivation was naturally much stronger. He estimated that he was around the third level of the core-shattering realm. He could challenge Yu Ruo, who was at the second level of the core-shattering realm. But facing Fire Spirit, who was at the third level of the core-shattering realm, he couldn't do anything. Bloodthirsty Demon Sword? I've heard that the more damage you take, the more terrifying the attack. This is a sword technique that risks your life. Good, let me see how strong your bloodthirsty demon sword can be. Then Fire Spirit attacked. He didn't use weapons. His fists were the best weapons. Flames wrapped around his fists as he kept attacking Qi Niming. Pung, 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 pung. Although it was just a simple attack, he didn't use any martial skills. However, the power of each punch was no weaker than a peak 9th level Emperor martial skill. It was very terrifying. Only now did people realize how powerful the Fire Spirit was. Those who had lost to him before were scared witless. Please remember the domain name of this book. Come and read the mobile version. Chapter 4292. The warriors who lost to Fire Spirit all had ugly expressions on their faces. If Fire Spirit attacked them like this from the beginning, they would have been killed long ago. This attack was simply too frightening. Qi Niming retreated while using the bloodthirsty demon sword to counterattack. Every time the bloodthirsty demon sword was injured, every time it attacked, its power would increase. So he naturally couldn't just defend. But he could feel that Fire Spirit's fist was extremely terrifying. The fist wind was like a storm. Every time he blocked, he felt like he was hit by a huge meteorite. Compared to this guy's attack, Yu Ruo's attack was like a child's play. They weren't on the same level at all. His strength is definitely not just at the third level of the core-shattering realm. Qi Niming had an idea and knew that he couldn't be Fire Spirit's opponent. But it was impossible for him to admit defeat, even if the opponent was a mountain charging at him at high speed. He had to block it, and the stronger the opponent's attack, the more terrifying his bloodthirsty demon sword was. At this time, the sword in his hand had completely turned blood red. The blood-red heavenly lake behind him was churning continuously. On one hand, it was blocking the impact for him, and on the other hand, it was accumulating power. Boom! When Fire Spirit's 16th fist came, Qi Niming spat out a mouthful of blood. He was injured, and the injury wasn't light. His sword technique couldn't completely block this terrifying fist intent. Fire Spirit's attack was no joke, and he didn't have any intention of showing mercy. If it wasn't for the bloodthirsty demon sword that could greatly increase his physical strength in a short time, Qi Niming would have been killed. But if this time passed, he would be in trouble. Once the bloodthirsty demon sword was completely released, he would completely lose his combat power and be slaughtered. That was why Fire Spirit said that this was a sword technique that risked his life. It wasn't a normal way of fighting at all. Although Qi Niming could feel that his vital essence was being severely compressed, his body was constantly crying out in pain. But he had to hold it in. Hold it in. If he wanted to reverse the situation, he had to risk his life like this. Boom! Another fist. Qi Niming felt that he instantly fell into an endless sea of fire. He was surrounded by magma. He desperately resisted the pressure, and his body was distorted. Bloodthirsty demon sword, release. Finally, Qi Niming stabbed out his 18th sword. The bloodthirsty demon sword was fully unleashed. In that instant, the Fire Spirit's fist wind was completely destroyed. A terrifying, roaring sword will tore through the void. It directly hit Fire Spirit's protective Zhen Yuan. His protective Zhen Yuan shattered. The sword Qi continued to advance. Like a bloodthirsty demon, it directly pierced Fire Spirit's body. The boundless power forced Fire Spirit to retreat. One of his feet was already in the air, and his body was tilted to almost 180 degrees. He was about to fall. Miraculously, he stood up again. He bent over and looked at the sword wounds on his body. He wiped off the lava-like blood and smiled. The bloodthirsty demonic sword is indeed terrifying. Fortunately, you are not yet 50 years old. Then the one who will lose today will definitely be me. On the other side, Chi Niming's consciousness was already blurry. He fell heavily onto the arena. He smiled helplessly. The opponent was too strong. Even though he gave it his all, he was still defeated. This was the cruel truth. Fire Spirit, kill that brat. In the stands, Yukirin roared. Why should I listen to you? Fire Spirit looked at Yukirin with disdain, and then stepped forward to help Chi Niming up and down the arena. If you don't kill him, I will kill you later. Yukirin gritted his teeth and said, I will wait. Fire Spirit shouted. Others were afraid of the Yu family, but he was not. Thank you for showing mercy, Brother Fire. Just leave him to me. Ling Xiao caught Chi Niming and fed him a healing pill, as well as a Zhan Yuan recovery pill, and a drop of shattered pill, divine water. At this stage, he didn't need the shattered pill, divine water. Chi Niming was his friend. He wouldn't be stingy with it. What's more, if Ling Jiaojiao became the demon lord of the Fengdu demon kingdom in the future, she would need Chi Niming's help. After all, Ling Xiao wasn't a lone wolf. He was the heavenly emperor of the heavenly dynasty empire. Roping in talents was also one of his missions. Chi Niming probably gained a lot from the battle with Fire Spirit. If he used the shattered pill divine water now, his chances of breaking through would be extremely high. He's really lucky to have a friend like you. Fire Spirit looked at Ling Xiao and smiled. I still can't see through you. I really hope to have a chance to fight with you. You will have that chance. Ling Xiao smiled and began to heal Chi Niming's injuries. He was helping Chi Niming and also helping himself. After this battle, the next few matches were more casual and ordinary, until the 9th battle. Finally, there was another battle of the pinnacle. Dao Shuilan against Jian Wuqing. In everyone's impression, Dao Shuilan and Jian Wuqing were very close on the heaven ranking. One used a saber, while the other used a sword. They were also very interesting opponents. Therefore, their battle also caused a burst of cheers. Ling Xiao also hoped to see who would emerge victorious in the battle between the two of them. After all, he could learn a lot of good things from their duels. Whoosh! The two landed on the arena at almost the same time. Boom! At the same time, they released terrifying saber and sword essences. It was as if two huge weapons clashed in the sky. Flowing water saber technique, murderous intent. Dao Shuilan made the first move because he felt Jian Wuqing's terrifying murderous intent. This made him very uncomfortable. Sabersmen were usually more straightforward and decisive. Compared to the elegance and cunning of a swordsman, it was not strange to make the first move. Clang! The saber chi approached Jian Wuqing, but when it was 5 or 6 meters away, it was suddenly blocked. Sword drawing technique. This was the most basic sword technique, but Jian Wuqing used it to the extreme. Lone boat fisherman. One sword moves the river. The moment he blocked Dao Shuilan's attack, Jian Wuqing counterattacked. His body took a step forward. A lonely and sharp sword chi suddenly burst out and attacked Dao Shuilan, who was dozens of meters away. Clang! This time, it was Dao Shuilan who blocked Jian Wuqing's attack. Dao Shuilan did not back down and also took a step forward. The saber in his hand released a saber chi that was as soft as flowing water, but terrifyingly sharp. This contradictory combination was played by him to the point of perfection. Clang! Unfortunately, before Dao Shuilan's saber chi could move forward, it was blocked by Jian Wuqing's other hand. Jian Wuqing also used 2 swords. It was not worth it. Unlike Ling Xiao, he held a long sword in his right hand and a short sword in his left. His right hand attacked, and his left hand assisted. The left hand's attack or defense always served the right hand. Chapter 40, 293. Jian Wuqing's dual swords were different from Ling Zhao's two hands, which were equivalent to two martial artists. It was hard to say who was better. It could only be said that Ling Zhao's method was more difficult. Water Dragon Strike. Dao Shuilan was not weaker than Jian Wuqing. Although he was holding the blade with both hands, he seemed to be at a disadvantage. But his blade technique was more powerful. Every attack was very overbearing. A water dragon roared out, directly penetrating Jian Wuqing's protective net, and attacked Jian Wuqing's body. Jian Wuqing frowned slightly. He did not dare to be careless. The long sword in his right hand shook, and a fire phoenix flew out. The dragon and phoenix collided again. A terrifying roar was heard. The entire arena was shaking. The strength of these two people was indeed as everyone had expected. They were evenly matched. In the blink of an eye, several moves had passed. Neither of them had the upper hand. In this way, the two went back and forth. The arena was full of blade light and sword shadows. They fought for 200 rounds. Gradually, some clues were revealed. Dao Shuilan is probably going to lose. After all, he is still a little weaker than Jian Wuqing. Ling Xiao shook his head. Dao Shuilan was very strong, but Jian Wuqing was stronger, and Dao Shuilan's moves consumed too much vital essence. If he could not win after a long time, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. If he lost, he would lose because of this. Let's decide it in one move. Dao Shuilan and Jian Wuqing both stopped, because neither of them could afford to continue. Dao Shuilan also understood that if this continued, he would be the one to lose sooner or later. Instead of wasting their physical strength, it was better to decide it in one move. Okay. Jian Wuqing nodded. The two released their martial souls at the same time and prepared a powerful move at the same time. Almost at the same time, they rose into the air. The blade and sword collided in midair, and then staggered. The arena suddenly quieted down. What happened? Someone asked. Dao Shuilan lost. Ling Xiao saw very clearly that he had already finished healing Qi Niming. The one in charge of taking care of Qi Niming was Ancestor, Scarlet Flame. He saw it very clearly. Dao Shuilan lost because he was not cunning enough. His final strike was even more powerful, but he was overly concerned about power. Even though Jian Wuqing's moves were not as powerful as his, they were not far off. Furthermore, Jian Wuqing knew how to utilize his techniques. It was reasonable for him to win. I lost. Dao Shuilan shook her head. He walked down the ring. Although many people didn't understand how he lost, it was enough for the two of them to understand. The two of them didn't go all out because they were thinking about the upcoming battle. Thanks for letting me win. Jian Wuqing smiled bitterly. Even though he had won, this was a tough battle to win. After the battle between the two ended, the cheers of the audience did not subside for a long time, although many people did not understand why Jian Wuqing had won in the end. But the competition was exciting enough. Just this point alone was enough. There was no need to think so much. Moreover, there were still several seated contestants who were going to fight. Perhaps there would be something even more exciting. In this round, only Qi Niming, Fire Spirit, Dao Shuilan, and Jian Wuqing had participated. There were only 4 of them. The remaining ones were Yu Zhangzong, Yu Qiren, Ling Jiaojiao, Xingyun Ling Xiao, and Yu Nu. On the Heaven leaderboard, the Yu family had 5 people. Yu Ruo had been removed from the Heaven leaderboard, not even a seated contestant. But the Yu family still had 4. Yu Zhangzong was the human demon king. Needless to say, he was powerful. As for Yu Qiren and Ling Jiaojiao, they were popular candidates. Let's talk about Yu Nu. He was ranked slightly higher than Yu Ruo. He was also stronger than Yu Ruo. Of course, the most terrifying thing about Yu Nu wasn't his strength, but his terrifying eye technique. From the previous battles, it could be seen that anyone who fought Yu Nu was defeated before the battle even started. They were completely defeated by his eye technique. More interestingly, Yu Nu and Yu Luo were brothers. Yu Luo had been killed by Ling Xiao. Yu Nu remembered this clearly. He had been looking forward to meeting Ling Xiao. Anyway, this round wasn't over yet. The possibility of meeting him was still high. 13th round, Yu Qiren against Ling Jiaojiao. Although the Yu family changed Ling Jiaojiao's name, when the puppet referee announced it, he directly called Ling Jiaojiao's original name. This made the Yu family a little unhappy. But thinking about it carefully, Ling Jiaojiao's body had already been possessed by the demon Venerable. So what if her name was Ling Jiaojiao? This made him feel carefree in his heart. It didn't matter anymore. Qiren, admit defeat. Yu Xiangtian said indifferently. The Yu family also hoped to make Ling Jiaojiao the next demon Venerable. Although Yu Qiren and Ling Jiaojiao's current cultivation were the same, Ling Jiaojiao was still possessed by the demon Venerable, so her future potential was great. Naturally, she was more suitable to become the demon Venerable. Father, I'm not willing. Yu Qiren gritted his teeth and said, I want to test my strength. Letting him lose without a fight, he felt that it was too cowardly. Even if he wanted to support Ling Jiaojiao to become the demon Venerable, he still had to perform well. If he could get the demon emperor's appreciation, that would be the best. Forget it. If you want to fight, then fight. After all, he was his son. He couldn't bear to see him sink too low. Besides, Yu Qiren was almost 100 years old. His cultivation had been hovering near the 9th level of the core fragmentation realm, unable to advance any further. Perhaps this battle was an opportunity for Yu Qilian. Perhaps he could make a breakthrough and reach the divine physique realm. If that happened, the Yu family would have another demon king. This was very important for the Yu family's future status in the demon Venerable region. Thank you, Father. Yu Qiren took a deep breath. He cupped his hands at Ling Jiaojiao and said, Although I know I was disrespectful to you, demon son, I hope you can teach me a thing or two. Yu Qiren's words were very respectful, but there was a strong sense of confidence in them. Apart from the dark horse Yu Zhangzong, he and Ling Jiaojiao were the two strongest people. Even if Ling Jiaojiao could surpass him in the future, he still hoped to win today. You can't, Ling Jiaojiao said indifferently, perfectly displaying the demon son's arrogance. I didn't expect Sister Jiaojiao's acting skills to be so good. I was worried that she would reveal some clues because of her hatred. Hearing Ling Jiaojiao's words, Ling Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. Ling Jiaojiao didn't use a weapon. She just stood there and released the aura of a demon sovereign. Many of the audience members felt extremely uncomfortable. This made the Yu family even more convinced that Ling Jiaojiao had been possessed by the demon sovereign. They had never imagined that the demon venerate's soul had actually been refined by Ling Xiao, Ling Jiaojiao, and the Yuan venerate. Half a month ago, you were only at the peak of the extreme realm of core. But now, you're already at the 9th level of the shattered core stage. Your breakthrough is truly shocking. Perhaps this is the benefit of being a devil son. But half a month ago, you weren't my match. Now, you still aren't my match. Yu Qilian showed the arrogance of a young man. Xiao Shua Xiao Shuem, 3 cubed caret x to the power of O. M. Worth collecting unadvertised novel.